Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was Emperor of the West and Konoha wanted his help? Part 3. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Deserted village of Yugur, hot water country. Inside a deserted bathhouse, Naruto cursed to himself for the sixth time that morning as he received the memories of the clone he had left at the hot water capital. The new hot water daimyo had sold him out to the squad of Konoha ninja that were heading this way in exchange for a hefty reward. Among the six-man squad of Jounin level Anbu Black Ops, they were being led by Kakashi Hot Aki and backed up by the Inuzuka matriarch and her son. Naruto was in hot water country with his elite guard for an overnight stay before heading over to spring country. He was smart enough not to trust the beefy young daimyo who had ascended to the position following the death of his father. Naruto had passed through the hot water capital with his elite guards and had decided to check out the former ninja village of Yugur, Hiden's former village. The village had become a tourist town, forcing Hiden to leave. When Hiden returned after joining Akatsuki, he had Kazuku in tow. Together, they put the entire village to the sword. Only 5 survivors had escaped the village and Yugur was abandoned. The local people said that the city was cursed by the insane Jashin priest ninja. Now, Naruto was hiding out, waiting for the arrival of his former sensei and the 2 Inuzuka. He had ordered the elite guard to keep the Anbu occupied while he dealt with Kakashi and the Inuzuka. Naruto did not forget their reactions to his banishment. He did not forget the cold indifference of his former sensei or the death threats that were directed to him from the Inuzukas. And he wasn't in a forgiving mood. His spy network inside Fire Country had proven their worth. Not that he already knew how the Konoha 11 fought, but that he kept up with his former teammates' progress ever since he established the Pikara merchant house in Fire Country. The Emperor had changed out of his casual attire and into his standard battle gear, mesh shirt, black combat pants, and boots. His black flak vest was the last item he regarded for a moment. Black like the sound flak vests, but it was similar in design like Konoha, only there was no whirlpool spiral on the back. It was his favorite. He slipped it on and checked his items for the upcoming battle. Scrolls check. Standard kunai check. Sword check. The second clone that he had placed at the village gates had dispersed, Naruto gaining its knowledge. They were here. Placing his face mask over his face and his bandana over his hair, Naruto secured the sword over his shoulder and stepped outside to face his former sensei and the Inuzuka. At the entrance, the massive one-eyed dog with a missing ear sniffed the air. He is close. Very close. Tsume Inuzuka gave her pet a pat on the head. Good, Kuramaru. Diba Inuzuka gave Akamaru a pat on the head to soothe its whining. I know boy. I know. This place freaks me out too. The team from Konoha were in a neighboring village when they received word from one of the hot water daimyo's minions. The man they were looking for was in the capital, but was now headed in the direction of Yugur. Several miles out from the city, the 3 Jounin and their 10-man team of Anbu Black Ops had encountered the man in black's bodyguards. While the Anbu kept the bodyguards occupied, the Inuzuka and Kakashi headed for the deserted village, where they awaited their arrival. After seeing their fellow ninja brought back empty-handed, Tsume had been itching for a chance to take on the man in black. When word reached the Konoha ninja that the mystery man was in the vicinity, the special Jounin immediately jumped at the chance. Kakashi, along with her son, who was also in training for becoming a special Jounin, had tagged along. So this is Yugur, Tsume quipped as the trio of Jounins walked through the gate. Hiden's hometown, right? Kakashi nodded. It was until the village went from a hidden ninja village to a hidden springs resort. Hiden didn't take it very well and left. When he returned, he was a follower of Jashin and had Kazuku with him. What those two had done had made the Uchiha massacre look like a backyard brawl. Out of a village of over 300, only 5 survived. I can see why our friend chose this village. The locals believe that it's cursed. Tsume snorted. Superstitious fools. Pretty smart for him to have his bodyguards keep the Anbu occupied. Divide, then conquer, Kiba seconded. I can see why the others lost to him. They didn't have a special Jounin and a master of the Sharingan along with them, Tsume said. The others were careless. This is not a game, Inuzuka, Kakashi pointed out. We have our orders. We have to bring him in for questioning. Tsume started to reply to that before she spied movement. There. She shouted as she and Kiba charged forward. Only to have Kakashi restrain the both of them. Could be a trap, he said. Raising his hit I-8, exposing his Sharingan. He created 5 shadow clones and sent them off in the last known direction of the person Tsume saw running into what used to be the village's inn. Watching from his perch several buildings away, Naruto shook his head. All too predictable, hot Aki, he muttered to himself as the 5 clones chased after his own shadow clone. The shadow clone loaded down with explosive tags. 5 4 3 2 1 and Naruto covered his ears. Boom. The blast threw the three ninja off their feet while the two dogs threw themselves to the ground. Naruto chuckled softly. It was time to get reacquainted with his former sensei and the Inyazuka. I really hate being right, Kakashi thought. The son of Tsukumo Hatake rose to his feet, as did Tsume and Kiba. You two okay? Tsume nodded. Yeah. Kiba grunted in response. Looks like you called it right, Hatake. It was a trap. Kakashi looked forward. And there he is. Tsume looked forward. Kiba did the same, as Kuramaru and Akamaru growled. Stepping through the fire, like a demon out of hell, was Naruto. Kakashi looked upon his opponent. Little did he know that the man in black was his former student, the same one he had written off as worthless years earlier when he was banished. Tsume and Kiba were elated. Here was the man in black, the same person who had killed Haiden and Kazuku, and had gone through Danzu and his route, both generations of the Ino Shikacho trio, held his own against Itachi and Kisame, and had beaten down Team Guy. Naruto cracked his knuckles, which was followed by him rotating his neck muscles. He was primed and ready to deliver some much-needed payback upon these three. You did this to your teammate. You are worse than trash. You are scum. My mom was right about you. You're nothing but a damn demon. I'll kill you the next time I see you again. This time around, his chakra control wasn't screwed up like it was during the Chunin exams. It was time for some get-even. Kiba looked at the disguised Naruto. This is what got Konoha riled up. He doesn't look like much. Don't underestimate him, Kiba, Kakashi warned. He is labeled as an S-rank ninja. Tsume smiled. Oh, this was going to be fun. Naruto watched as Kiba performed the Inyazuka's signature jutsu. Beast Ninja Jutsu. 4 legs, Kiba shouted. Had Naruto did have his mask on, Kakashi would have seen the evil smirk on his face as Kiba crouched down on all fours, his already feral features becoming even more feral, his chakra radiating from their bodies. Naruto wondered why Tsume wasn't going feral alongside her son. Then it hit him. She was sizing him up, along with Kakashi. So Naruto began, his eyes the color of pure gold. Been looking for me? Akamaru, stay back. He's mine. Kiba shouted as he charged. Naruto shifted his body to the side as Kiba reappeared, his elbow striking nothing but air. You missed, Kiba Inyazuka, Naruto deadpanned. Kiba blinked. You know me. That one distraction cost the male Inyazuka, as he did not see Naruto's fist on a course for his chin. It was a full body swing too, came out of Konoha from where he was born, hooked right through the ninja academy, picked up even more speed through the Chunin exams, and was forged in the fires of the unification wars. Crunch. Kakashi winced as the uppercut from hell caught Kiba square in the chin and launched the feral boy in the air and backwards. He landed on his back and slid to a stop in front of his dog, Tsume, Kuramaru and Kakashi. Kiba shook off the blow, but even he had to admit that it hurt like hell. Naruto chuckled darkly. This reminded him of the first time he had fought the Inyazuka during the Chunin exams when Kiba knocked him on his ass. Kiba tasted blood. He spat it on the ground. First time in a while since someone made me bleed, Kiba said as he retrieved 2 familiar-looking pills. Looks like the rumors were right about you, but it's not enough. Akamaru. The dog barked as Kiba tossed one of the pills in his mouth while he swallowed his own. When Akamaru's fur turned red, Naruto knew what was going to happen. Tsume smiled as her son performed the beast clone jutsu. It's over. Kiba has won. Kakashi did not share in Tsume's optimism as Akamaru transformed into a clone of Kiba. You can stop the macho act, the real Kiba began. And give up, the false Kiba finished. You're finished. You think that, wouldn't you? Naruto replied. Defeat me first, then boast. Until then, less talking, more fighting. Both Kibas charged. Much to their surprise, Naruto charged in as well, leaving only an afterimage of him standing before. Much to Tsume and Kakashi's surprise, Naruto was holding his own against Kiba and Akamaru. Amazing, Kakashi muttered as he tracked the action with his Sharingan. Rock Lee said that this guy's Taijutsu was flawless. He's keeping up with Kiba. Even more interesting is that he's not using his chakra to it. Tsume growled. She had taught her son better than this. Meanwhile, Naruto was calmly blocking, dodging and weaving through the 2 Kiba's attacks. Let's see if I can provoke him into doing the Getsuga, Naruto thought. His fox eye knew which Kiba was the real one and which was Akamaru, tagging both of them with several blows of his own, enraging the dog lover when he failed to strike him. Ducking underneath their punches, Naruto knocked them both back with a power punch to the breastplate. Then he grabbed a handful of Kiba's flak vest, pulled him in, and began to punch him in the face several times before let go of the dog ninja and ducked just as the Kiba clone pounced, crashing into the real Kiba instead. Pitiful, Naruto sneered. Kiba growled. He had not laid a single blow on this guy and he was moving just as fast. On top of that, his eye was swollen shut from the guy's rapid-fire style of punches. Pulling a smoke bomb out of his pouch, he had the false Akamaru keep him occupied when he flung the bomb at Naruto's feet. Upon hearing the coughing and hacking, Kiba saw that his much-needed opening had appeared. Akamaru, now. Kiba shouted as they both charged into the smoke, spinning into the Inuzuka signature technique. Gitsuga. Wham. When the smoke cleared, both Kiba and Akamaru, who had reverted back into his original form, stood proud and tall over the still form of the man in black. Kiba breathed. Told you that you already lost. Tsume let out a whoop of joy. That's my boy. You showed him what the Inuzuka could do. Her and Kiba's elation was short-lived as the body of the man in black vanished in a poof of smoke. Kakashi spied movement from above and looked up. Kiba. Watch out. Kakashi shouted, pointing upwards. Kiba looked up just in time to see Naruto sailing at him as he finished off several seals. Wind release. Deadly tempest. Kiba didn't know what hit him. All he felt was a blast of super cooled air that struck him with the force of a stampeding bull, which… all too easy, Naruto replied as he rose to his full height. Impressive, Kakashi thought. When Kiba threw that smoke pellet, he used a shadow clone while he escaped. I barely registered him jumping into the air. He masked his chakra while at the same time using it to escape the Gitsuga. His mastery of battle tactics is on par with Inara. And that jutsu. Tsume shook her head. Kiba, you idiot. As Akamaru reverted back to its original form, Kiba said one thing before losing consciousness. Mama, I hurt. Kuramaru ready? Tsume asked as she rose to her height. As always, Kuramaru replied. My son may be Jounin, but he still has a lot to learn, Tsume said. She then activated the beast mimicry, followed by the beast clone, transforming Kuramaru into a clone of herself. I am the matriarch of the Inuzuka clan, Special Jounin Tsume Inuzuka. You have proven to be a worthy adversary in your encounters with my fellow ninja. But it ends here. Then show me, Tsume Inuzuka, Naruto replied as he went into another stance, think Gauken's stance from SSF4. Show me what a special Jounin can do. There was no arrogance in his voice. His tone was casual, borderline cordial. It then dawned on Kakashi. He was toying with them. Tsume, stop. Too late, Tsume and Kuramaru charged. Claws outstretched, the two Tsumes attacked. This time around, she didn't make it easy for Naruto. The Emperor took one step back in order to keep Tsume from clawing his face off, allowing the Tsume clone to catch him with a dropkick to the chest, causing him to stumble. Capitalizing on her advantage, Tsume pressed on the assault, succeeding in tearing a gash in Naruto's flak vest. I'll tear you apart piece by piece, if I have to, Tsume snarled. Trust me. It won't come to that, Naruto replied, right before unleashing his own counterattack. Tsume felt the air rush out of her lungs when Naruto punched her hard in the stomach, followed by an elbow to the gut. The Tsume clone got a knee to the chin when it tried to sneak attack from behind. It was at that moment that Kakashi realized that Kiba was gone. Suga. Crunch. Kiba had struck from behind when Naruto was distracted by Tsume. The impact of the blow had sent Naruto crashing through a wall. Catch me off guard, will he? Kiba said as he took a knee, the Tsuga taking a lot out of him. Never underestimate the Inuzuka clan. Tsume smirked as Kuramaru reverted back to his usual form. Sorry, Hot Aki. Looks like you get to sit this one out. The honor of capturing the man in black is ours. Kuramaru, Akamaru retrieve our prey. Kuramaru and Akamaru barked in response and rushed in after Naruto. Kakashi could not shake off the feeling of dread that was creeping in his gut. That was too easy. Unless. His fears were verified when the unmistakable sound of a trap were sprung, the victims being the two dogs of the Inuzuka. Naruto stepped out of the hole he had made, looking worse for the wear, but still able to fight. His flak vest and mesh shirt were shredded from Kiba's tsuga. That hurt almost, he said as he discarded the shirt and vest, leaving him naked from the waist up. Kakashi took notice of the numerous scars on his chest and torso, think the smaller scars Kazaya has on his body, a sign of a battle-hardened warrior. Where's Akamaru and Kuramaru? Tsume demanded. I didn't kill them, Naruto replied. They're incapacitated, but alive. We were holding back all this time. The way Kakashi had said it was as if he was stating a fact. Of course, Naruto replied as he prepared himself for the upcoming assault. No matter how random things are, I always have a plan. And half of that plan has been executed by removing those walking fur coats out of the equation. The second half is simply beating you three down. Assuming his fighting stance, he said, so, who wants to dance? Shut up. You talk too much. Kiba shouted as he charged. Kiba? Wait. Both Kakashi and Tsume shouted. Too late. Kiba's hot-headedness had cost him. Crunch. Naruto's fist had broken Kiba's nose. As Kiba screamed in pain, Naruto swung his other fist with chakra back strength, catching Kiba on the jaw. The sickening crack that followed had verified that Kiba's jaw was broken. The male Inuzuka was sent flying before falling into a heap on the ground. Kiba. Tsume screamed. Naruto smirked evilly. Kiba was just too predictable. One Inuzuka down. One to go. This time, Kakashi joined the enraged Inyazuka clan head in attacking the emperor. Kakashi armed himself with a pair of kunai. This time around, Naruto had stopped holding back. Summoning a chakra chain and stiffening it so that he could wield it as a staff, Naruto went on the attack. He slapped the kunai out of Kakashi's hands and swept him off his feet. The older man was forced to roll out of the way when the emperor attempted a leaping overhead strike, causing him to miss. Tsume attempted a tsuga of her own, but Naruto used the chain as a pole vault, propelling himself into the air just as Tsume spun past him. When she landed, she felt the chain-like staff strike her on the back of her skull, leaving her stunned. Kakashi tried to attack Naruto from behind, only to find himself in a reverse armbar and getting his face punched in repeatedly, as did Kiba before him, right before throwing him towards Tsume. The Inyazuka matriarch jumped over Kakashi and went on the attack. Naruto's fist bounced off her head, followed by the punch to her breastplate, which despite the flak vest, still hurt like crap. The roundhouse kick to the side of her head sent her spinning to the ground. Kakashi retrieved his kunai and lunged forward, but Naruto elbowed him in the face, grabbed a handful of his hair and with one blow, ruptured his left eye socket. Twisting his former sensei's body so that he was bent and facing the ground, Naruto slammed his knee into his face before grabbing his jaw and flung him away. Tsume recovered and caught Naruto, raking her nails across his torso. Naruto simply ignored the pain and continued to fight. Ducking under a claw swipe to the face, Naruto punched Tsume's torso with 20 blows in the space of 3 seconds, followed by a right cross which busted her lip and a kick to the chest, knocking her back. Naruto turned to Kakashi, who was just finishing up a long string of seals. Now what? Naruto thought as he looked at Kakashi, who was standing next to a lake. Monkey bird. Yang water rat boar bird. His eyes widened as he recognized the jutsu, as it was also used by Zabuza and Haku. Oh, crap. Water release. Water dragon bullet. Kakashi shouted. Naruto's reaction was instant. When the massive water dragon reached its apex, Naruto began his own set of hand seals. One thing about Naruto was his uncanny talent for battle tactics, which was honed during his years of fighting in the Unification Wars. As Kakashi and Tsume watched, Naruto countered Kakashi's jutsu with his own, just as the water dragon dove for him. High release. Deadly tempest. Naruto bellowed. The vortex of superheated air crashed into the water dragon, cancelling the other out. It also had the effect of blanketing the entire area with steam. He knows fire jutsu as well. Kakashi wondered as he felt Tsume back up to him. Damn it. Asuma and the Aburami called it right. His eyes are blocking the Sharingan's ability to copy his jutsu. Where is he? Tsume demanded. I can't see anything. We have to wait until the steam clears. Naruto, in the meantime, could see everything. Deciding to incapacitate Tsume first, he created a shadow clone to get her attention. The decoy worked and Tsume went after it, ignoring Kakashi's yells for her to stop. Suga. Tsume screamed as she drilled through the steam, striking the decoy in the back. Had she been paying attention, she would have saw that it was a clone. Once she landed, Naruto struck with brutal efficiency. Tsume spun around and threw one clawed hand at Naruto. Only to have the younger man grab her wrist. When she tried to attack him with her other hand, he did the same. Beeping his head back, Naruto smashed his skull into Tsume's face, breaking the cartilage in her face before letting her go. Interlocking his hands together, he delivered an upward hammer blow which knocked her into the air, before slamming her back to the ground with a downward hammer blow. Tsume felt his foot in her back. Then she felt the 2 punches mid-torso, which was followed by the elbow into her shoulder, which broke her collarbone. Kakashi heard the scream from the Inyazuka matriarch and rushed to her last location. There, he found her, whimpering, holding her shoulder with her remaining hand, blood flowing freely from her nose. She would be of no use now. By that time, the steam had cleared. Kakashi was alone. Tsume and Kiba were both down. All that remained was him and Naruto. Naruto faced down his former sensei. All the memories of him favoring Sasuke over him came flooding back in an instant. The wave mission, in which he and the Banshee were ordered to practice tree climbing and chakra control while he trained his precious uchiha. The Chunin exams, in which he had told Naruto that he was training Sasuke and not him. And that day when he was banished for simply doing his job and Kakashi was one of many who had condemned him. So what Sasuke had been returned battered and bruised. The life of a ninja was full of risks. Kakashi didn't blink when he noticed the Chidori wound in his shoulder. And used the Sharingan, Kakashi thought, hoping that his only memento of Obito was not damaged. Kiba and Tsume are down. I'm gonna have to use the Chidori when I get the chance. That was all Kakashi could think before Naruto was upon him. The Anbu captain could do nothing but block as his, unknown to him, former enraged student, unleashed nearly 3 years of pent-up frustration and anger upon him. Kakashi coughed up blood as he felt several of his ribs break from the onslaught. The man in black was unwavering in his assault upon him. Even more worse, whenever Kakashi tried to counterattack, it was as if the man in black was reading his every move, his counterstrikes were indeed brutal. In desperation, Kakashi performed a substitution, appearing behind Naruto while he had punched out a log that took Kakashi's place. Todori. Naruto wasn't going to fall for that again. Imperial style. Flash step, he whispered. Naruto had derived a flash step from the Hirishin. He already can move just as fast as Lee without the weights, but using chakra to boost his agility, he found he could move fast to the point that he would leave an afterimage without the signature yellow flash. Something that Kakashi had found out the hard way as he realized way too late that Naruto was behind him. But the yell, Naruto nailed Kakashi with his final attack. Boot. Jai. Naruto's revised version of the 1,000 Years of Pain had met its mark and sent Kakashi flying. The Jounin landed hard on his right side when he was sent crashing through a tree, the impact breaking his right arm and leg. Kakashi whimpered as he tried to get to his feet, but to no avail. Finally, Kakashi lost consciousness. Naruto took a moment to get himself under control. Looking around, he saw that all 3 Konoha Jounin were out cold, but alive. When Yuhiko and the rest of the elite guards had showed up after blowing past the Anbu, they found Naruto crouched over Kakashi. The reason being, Naruto remembered Kakashi having one of his father's Hirishin kunai in his possession. Said kunai was now in Naruto's hand, having pilfered it from Kakashi's effects. You of all people don't deserve this, Naruto said as he pocketed the kunai. You, Kakashi Hatake abandoned me in favor of the uchiha. I am not the scum you once proclaimed me to be. You are. Boss. Are you alright? Yuhiko asked. Naruto nodded. I'll live. Let me grab my things. It seems that Hot Water Country is not worthy of having a Pikara branch here. It's time for us to leave. Once Naruto had gotten his belongings, he performed the Demon's Gate Jutsu. By the time the second squad of Anbu had arrived, all they found were 2 dogs in a net and 3 broken Konoha Jounin. Konoha Hospital Konohagakure, 2 days later. While taking their daughter for a routine checkup, Asuma and Kurenai Sarutobi decided to check in on Tsume Inyazuka. The Inyazuka matriarch was in her son's room. Tsume's arm was in a sling, her collarbone reset, as was her nose, as the bandage over that was any proof. Kiba was out cold. His jaw having to be rewired, his nose also reset. Akamaru and Kuramaru, who were on the ground resting, raised their heads, but calmed down once they saw that it was the Sarutobi clan head and his wife. Asuma knew the Inyazuka clan head for many years, as did Kurenai, since they both were on the same team together back when they were younger, and despite everything, they remained friends. When Kiba had told Tsume that Kurenai was his Jounin instructor, she approved of the decision. So how is he? Kurenai asked of her former pupil, while Asuma petted both Kuramaru and Akamaru. Not as better off as me, Tsume replied, subdued, gesturing to her sling. The Gondai had to rewire his mouth shut. Looks like we'll both be out of action for the next couple of months in order to heal. So what happened? We received word from the new Daimyo in Hot Water Country, Tsume began. Said that the man in black was in the area, heading for Yugur. Kiba, Kakashi and I were close by. We waited for a backup of Anbu to show up before we gave chase. The man's bodyguards intercepted us, and the Anbu held them, allowing us to continue on. We found in Yugur and this is the result. Asuma winced. Ouch. Looks like you 3 pissed our friend off. Tsume chuckled bitterly. You should see Hatake. He had the worst of it. 12 broken ribs and both his right arm and leg broken. But that's not the worst of it. From what the Gondai has told me, not only will he be out of action for close to 6 months, but he won't be able to sit right for the next couple of weeks. Just what did he do to him? Kurenai asked. Remember that joke jutsu that Kakashi likes to do? Asuma knew what Tsume was talking about. The 1,000 Years of Pain. What about it? Looks like our friend did it to Kakashi and he didn't use his fingers. He used his boot instead. Asuma winced. Ouch. Really hate to be him. Talk about the final indignity. Journal of the Emperor, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Entry. 15. I was visiting the Imperial Consulate in Mist when at Yuhiko's suggestion, I decided to check out the ruins of my mother's home village. I was surprised that the Whirlpool ruins were located in the far end of Wave Country. Wave Country was at least a few hours travel by boat from here, and it has been a while since I've visited the old drunk and his family. And Yuhiko did have an interesting point. I was always intrigued about the Whirlpool village from what he told me, so I decided to head for Wave once my business with Mist was completed. Who knows, I may find some of my mom's jutsu there. Whirlpool was known for its eel masters. Mom was part of the ruling class which ran both the village and the island, while Yuhiko's family was the military arm of the village, kinda like the Uchiha's military police before Itachi went nuts. It was because of their mastery over seals that Iwa had declared war and razed the town to the ground. Another reason to hate Iwa. Arriving in Wave, I saw that the people have prospered since Gato was killed. Venturing into the town, I stopped when I saw a most welcoming sight. Ichiraku's ramen. Here in Wave. They had upgraded from a ramen stand to a small restaurant. Now it's Ichiraku's ramen, bar and grill. Say what you want about me, I still love ramen. So before heading over to Tezuma's home, I dropped by. Sure enough, working the kitchen were Tucci and Aim. I may hate Konoha, but these two were one of the very few that did not see me as the fox reborn. For that, I will always be eternally grateful to them. They told me how they refused to see me as the fox and that Haruno's mother organized a boycott of their business. In retaliation, they simply closed down and moved to Wave, where they called themselves Ichiraku's Ramen, Bar and Grill. Aim also told me some bad news. Haruka was dead. Tsunade had said that it was a suicide, that he felt an enormous amount of guilt for supporting the villagers in my banishment. The uchiha had found the body. As I stayed overnight at the inn of the Waves, I broke down and cried. I cried for Haruka. Even though he sided with the civilians, he did not deserve his fate. The following morning, after breakfast, I spoke with Tezuma and the Council of Wave. After an hour of chatting and setting up a trade alliance, thus establishing the Wave branch of the Pikara merchant house, it was off to Whirlpool, but not before leaving a clone in the town under a henge to make sure nothing funny happens while I was away. We arrived in the Whirlpool ruins mid-afternoon. Afterwards, we began to search the ruins of anything useful, jutsu, relics, anything. Following Yuhiko's directions, I came across the estate of my mother. It was still fairly intact. There, I found the mother lode. Mostly wind jutsu, including a very interesting item. A scroll detailing how to make chakra wind blades, designed in similar fashion to the Rasen Shuriken. Oh, this could be quite useful. Yuhiko found some water jutsu and a couple of swords inside his ancestral home. I've seen him fight with a sword and he is very impressive. So all in all, this little expedition turned out to be a success. Then, I felt the clone disperse and I gained its knowledge. Konoha ninja were closing in, and fast, consisting of Mido Guy, that psycho instructor from the Chunin exams, Anko Midarashi, and Hiashi Hyuga. I warned the others that we will soon have company and told Yuhiko and Konan not to kill them. 0 body count, maximum ego damage. Yuhiko could get into that, as did Konan. So with the others properly warned, we continued our search into the ruins. We didn't have to wait long for the Konoha ninja to arrive. They surrounded us. Anko was busy giving Takuma the once-over. I think she likes him or something. The Ashi must have heard me and the others talking while we searched the village. He respected the fact that I had noble blood, given my relationship to the former ruling family of Whirlpool, but I wonder how he would take it if I told him that my mother was Kushina Uzumaki, wife to Minato Namikaze. Then Hiashi made a big mistake. When Anko questioned him as to why Hinata was not here, he said that the reason why she was not here was that she was weak, a stain on the family name. Once Hanabi made Chunin, he would arrange a marriage to Hinata to be married off to some nobleman so that the clan could gain more influence and power. I think that's what pretty much set me off since I punched Hiashi, imitating the battle. While the elite guards fought the Anbu, I summoned 2 clones while having the Fox Eye active. The 2 clones turned into virtual doppelgangers of Anko and Guy and attacked while I dealt with the arrogant Hyuga clan head. The Ashi was harder than Niji, so I knew that I was going to be in for one rough night. But I had the advantage of knowing how the Jayuken style works, as well as intimate knowledge of how the chakra circulation system works. So I countered Hiashi's attacks and struck him in his Tenketsu points. Then I just beat the holy hell out of him for insulting Hinata. The clone that was fighting Anko was almost out of chakra, so I had to make this quick. Hiashi was already defeated, on his knees, looking defiant, but after insulting Hinata, I had to get some payback. You would think he learned after seeing the end result of Niji insulting her back during the Chunin exams. The flaw of your own power is arrogance, I said. Then I punched his forehead 4 times. When he will come to, he will have the word jerk punched into his forehead. With Hiashi out of the way, I turned my attention to Anko, who had finally succeeded in destroying the clone. She didn't see me coming. 1 punch to the head followed by me closing off her Tenketsu points and she was down for the count. Takuma was holding his own against Mido Guy until I told him to stand down and leave the older man to me. Takuma did a good job of delaying the boisterous Jounin, but he was mine. I haven't forgotten him and Asuma booting me out of town and I wanted to show him what I can do. Ironically, he met the same fate as did his pupil. The Shadow Dancer. So let's see, I fought the Inoshikacho trio, then Konoha sent out the original Inoshikacho trio, the one-eyed Warhawk and 20 of his root, Team Guy, Hot Aki and the Inyazuka, and now, the crazy snake Jounin, Guy and the pompous Hyuga clan head. All had failed. On Hagakure no Sato, several days later. Tsunade's voice rang throughout the village. You did what? Asana Haruno sniffed as she ignored the furious looks of the shinobi side of the council, while the civilians looked smug. We voted to reactivate Sasuke Uchiha as an active ninja. As of this moment, his house arrest has been lifted. Tsunade was furious. I did not agree to this. Only I can lift his punishment. If it's any consolation, most of the shinobi half voted against it, Asana replied, but the votebreaker came from Lord Hyuga himself. Whether you like it or not, Sasuke Uchiha is now an active ninja of Konoha once again. Tsunade growled. Fine. Just to make sure he does not run off to Orochimaru, I will add a stipulation to this decision. I will assign Captain Hot Aki and Captain Mitarashi to his detail. If the Uchiha attempts to run to Orochimaru, if he even farts in Odo's general direction, he will be immediately executed. You can't do that. Asana shouted. I just did, Tsunade replied, radiating killer intent over the council. It's high time that you civilians remember who is running the show. This is a shinobi village, and no civilians should have no say in shinobi matters. This has gone on long enough. You seem to forget yourself, Senju, Asana replied with a smirk. We can just as easily remove you from office. We have the wealthy and the men of quality in our ranks. And I have an army of pissed off underpaid shinobi, Tsunade countered, slowly rising from her seat, glaring daggers at the arrogant Haruno, her voice rising in anger. An army of pissed off underpaid shinobi who blame you and the civilian council for the mess that we are currently in. An army of pissed off, underpaid and potentially munitions shinobi that at my command will roast and eat your men of quality in the ashes of the town square. I will say this only once. Cross me again, and the Uchiha massacre will look like a village dance compared to what I will do. Furthermore, the civilian council and Hiashi Hyuga are immediately suspended for the rest of the month without pay. Get the hell out of my sight. It was true. Ever since the Fire Daimyo had halved the financial aid following their attempt to make Jiraiya a missing ninja, the civilian clans have been living high off the hog, while the ninja were resentful of the dock pay brought on by the civilian council's stupidity. Even Danzu, who orchestrated Naruto's banishment, was furious over the council's arrogance. The village teetered on the edge of civil war, all thanks to the civilian council. A civil war that the shinobi force can win hands down. And if the Fire Lord decided to get involved, he would easily side with the shinobi. So peace, as shaky as it was, managed to continue inside the leaf. On the shinobi side of the council, the shinobi watched on with shocked looks as Asana, Hiashi, and the civilians hurried out of the chambers. Even Kaharu and Hamura were shocked to see this side of Tsunade. Despite having taken part in Naruto's banishment, they were on the side of the shinobi council this time around and thankful that they voted against reinstating Sasuke. You were right, Shikaku, Chauza said. Women can be scary. Given the choice of dealing with Tsunade or my wife and Tsum, I'll go with the latter, the lazy Nara said. Very troublesome. From the Journal of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Entry. 16. The 6 months are over. Right now, I'm in Suna, having been personally invited by Gaara for the duration of the Chunin exams. The elite guards are staying at the Imperial Consulate while I am at the Kazekage Tower. The Chunin exams in Suna were done in the same fashion as they were done back in Konoha. Only this time, instead of the Forest of Death, Gaara had used a deserted part of Suna for the scroll retrieval assignment. I had faith in Team Misfits. Although I really can't call them that anymore. But Meru, Mogi and Yuden kept the nickname as a badge of honor. Sanshi, Akijima, Yamada and Shiba had trained them well. I had heard that they also breezed through the written exam in record time. But I knew that another confrontation with the Konoha ninja would soon be inevitable. Flashback. After witnessing the confrontation between Hinata and the Konoha ninja, Naruto departed for the Imperial Consulate. While walking through a side street, he met up with Yahiko and Konan. After explaining his intentions regarding Hinata, he asked Konan to tail Hinata for the next 2 days in order to get her schedule down. Once that was done, he would use one of the Imperial courier ninjas to summon Hinata to the Imperial Consulate. With the presence of the Konoha ninja, as well as that of the Iwa ninja, Naruto had to once again go incognito, as he was clad in his long coat, vest and boots, his Kage-style hat and face mask. Walking down a side street, Naruto, Konan and Yahiko headed in the direction of the Kazekage Tower to meet with Gaara. The ruler of Suna was very interested in meeting with the former Akatsuki founder and his lover, and Naruto was taking the both of them to him for a quick sit-down. So far, with the exception of Gaara himself, Fu and Yugur, the remaining Jinchuriki were safe in his empire, and the Akatsuki were none the wiser. Naruto stopped in mid-step. Yahiko and Konan also stopped. What is it? Yahiko asked. We're not alone, Naruto calmly replied as he turned around, as did his 2 bodyguards. Almost immediately, Yahiko drew out his swords, while Konan had her paper shurikens in between her fingers. Behind him were Kurana Yuuhi, Sakura Haruno, Kiba Inuzuka, Kakashi Hot Aki, Anko Mitarashi, and Tenten. Hyuga had not forgotten the crushing defeat that he had given him and was ready to attack. However, as Naruto calmly used a scroll to summon his sword, he relented. Hyuga. You can't fight him here. Stepping in between the Inuzuka and his giant dog was the one person that Naruto wasn't expecting to see. Clad in the standard Jounin uniform with the Uchiha crest on the sleeves, hiltless katana over one shoulder, and Konoha hit I-8 on his head, was Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto felt his emotions rising, but immediately suppressed them. If Sasuke was here, then that means Konoha was getting incredibly desperate and trying to bring him in. Naruto chuckled inwardly. Unknown to his former teammates and sensei, Cell 7 was back again. Only this time, they were on opposing sides. I already met Itachi, you must be Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto remarked dryly. What do you want with me? You fought against the Konoha elite, Sasuke replied calmly. You even killed 2 S-class criminals and held your own against my brother. I want you to fight me. Naruto considered this very carefully. This could earn him the closure he needed to close the book on Konoha once and for all. Oh, if he could only be there when Sasuke tells them that the man that they were chasing is the Emperor of the West. But Naruto wondered how Konoha would take it if they found out that the Emperor was the former container to the 9 tails. I accept your challenge, Uchiha, Naruto replied. But not here. Once the Chunin tournament is completed, we will fight in the Suna arena. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Will Gaara allow it? Naruto smiled meanly. Once I speak to him, he will. I hope you can give me a better challenge than your brother. Then you are a coward, Sakura sneered. If you were a real man, then you would fight Sasuke now. But I want your opinion, you pink-haired freak, I will ask for it, Naruto replied. Until then, you can reattach your lips to the Uchiha's ass, fangirl. Something inside Sakura snapped. With a yell, she charged, fist beeped back, ready to fly. Sakura. Stop. The 3 senior Jounin shouted, but to no avail. Naruto simply stood his ground as Sakura threw her punch. Predictable as always, Haruno, he thought as he stopped her punch with one finger. Then he used a palm strike to the torso to knock Sakura back to Kakashi. But Sakura dealt with, Naruto turned to Sasuke. You have 3 days to prepare, Uchiha, as he turned on his heel and walked off, Konan and Yuhiko trailing behind. Then flashback. After that confrontation, I made my way to the Kazekage Tower, and after Gaara had talked with Konan and Yuhiko, told him of the challenge the Uchiha has thrown to me, and that I wish to fight him inside the Suna arena once the Chunin exams are over. Gaara didn't have no love for Sasuke, and agreed to my offer. I retreated to the Imperial Consulate to not only prepare for the match, but to also make plans in contacting Hinata. Entry 18. Took me 2 days, but I contacted Hinata. Right now, she is asleep, safe inside the Imperial Consulate. Her father had placed that damn seal on her, the same one that Neji had, and shoved her inside the branch family when she lost to Hanabi. I cemented Hinata's loyalty when I not only removed it, but also told her that I was the Emperor of the West. Right now, Meru is the last member of Team Misfit to make it to the finals. Mogi and Yuden ended up fighting one another. That match ended in a double knockout. Despite that, those 3 had made me proud. Gaara has taken me to the side and told me that he was very impressed with the results of their training, and despite how things may end, he will promote them to Chunin. I also received another shock. The last of the Jinchuriki was waiting for me inside the Imperial Consulate, wishing for an audience with me. I remembered her from my days as a Konoha genin. Fu, the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi. She had heard about me retrieving the other containers and granting them asylum from the Akatsuki. Fearing the organization of S-class criminals, her village had chosen to exile her. When he found out that I was in Suna, she sought me out. That was a first. But it did save me the trouble of tracking her down. We talked inside the Imperial Consulate. When I revealed my true identity to her, Fu was very surprised to see me again. I welcomed Fu into the ranks of the Empire, promising to take her with me once the Chunin exams are completed. Entry 19. Meru faced off against Hanabi Hyuga in the final match the following day. Hiashi was in the audience. Gaara told me that my little stunt with Hinata has left him pissed off, as he had the main branch ninja come Suna looking for Hinata. But she was safely tucked away inside the Imperial Consulate. Several of them had picked a fight with the consulate's guards when they tried to enter the consulate and were soundly trounced. When Gaara threatened to place the Hyugas into his sand coffins, they finally backed off. As for the final match, it kinda mirrored my match with Neji back in Konoha. Only difference was that Hanabi wasn't sprouting that fake bullshit, but she was acting like her shit didn't stink. Typical Hyuga superiority complex. But what she didn't know was that I taught Meru how to counter the Jayukin style when it became clear to me that he was going to fight her. Or the fact that Meru had signed his grandfather's summoning scroll and summoned the Monkey King and used its staff form to soundly trounce her. Hanabi never stood a chance. Hanabi was knocked out cold. When I appeared on the stadium grounds, applauding Meru and congratulating him on his victory, I think Hiashi found out that I was one of his trainers. He had came to Suna to see his heiress clean house, and as Hinata had told me, to show her just how worthless she was when Hanabi had won. I think Hiashi was furious to the point that old man Tsurutobi's grandson had trounced his precious heiress. He got a boot to the head for his troubles when he tried to attack me once again. Good thing I was dressed for battle, since Sasuke appeared. I ushered Meru out of the way as I faced down my former teammate. If I was angry when I fought Itachi, I was absolutely furious with the team. Hinata had filled me in that he was pardoned by the civilian council, placing the blame on both me and that Hiki Orochimaru gave him, but Tsunade had him placed under house arrest, which was later lifted by the civilian council in order for him to come and face me and Suna. The Shinobi Council and the majority of the shinobi don't trust him ever since his attempted defection, whereas Sakura still worships the ground he walks on. Gaara himself gave the order to begin. Sasuke has improved during my absence, but I had fought and trained long and hard over the years. That title of emperor wasn't just for show. But honestly, out of all of the Konoha ninja I had fought, Sasuke was the toughest. We fought for at least 30 minutes until I finally gained the upper hand. Before I knocked him out, I told Sasuke that I was the Emperor of the West. Maybe now that would get Konoha off my back. After the match, I returned to the Imperial Consulate and waited for the town to clear of the visiting ninja. Once they were gone, I said my goodbyes to Gaara and used the Demon's Gate Jutsu to return to Kaiman City with Hinata and the last of the Jinchuriki. Sanshi was right. I had to face my demons and to free myself of my past. Beating down the Konoha elite pretty much did it for me. Now, I feel as if a huge weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. I can finally focus on the future of my empire. I can focus on Hinata. Hanahagakure no Sato, following the conclusion of the Chunin exams. The civilian council had placed all their hopes on Sasuke, hoping that the Uchiha elite could defeat the man in black and bring him to Konoha after the mystery man had given the leaf black eye after black eye after black eye. Their hopes were dashed when they saw the ninja that were sent to Suna return. Without the man in black. Despite his injuries, Sasuke had a report to make. Ignoring the guards at the gate, Sasuke and Kakashi headed for the Hokage Tower. Inside the council chambers. What? This time, the outburst didn't come from Tsunade. It came from Asano Hirono. Even the shinobi side of the council was very concerned at the change in events. Sasuke had just told them the identity of the mystery man. Several high-ranking jounin also sat in on this meeting as they were curious as to who the mystery man was. I said he is the Emperor of the Western Empire, the Uchiha confirmed. He told me before knocking me out. The Kazekage had all but confirmed it. On the shinobi side, shock was the evident reaction, while disbelief reigned on the shinobi side. Even the normally arrogant Anzu was shocked. The mystery man was the infamous emperor that has been making waves back in the West. This definitely complicates things, Asuma said. This one agrees, Tsume seconded. At least I feel a whole lot better about losing. Troublesome, Shikaku muttered. Very troublesome. We almost pissed off the Western Empire by attempting to kidnap their ruler. Itachi and Chaozu, who were seated next to their teammate, also agreed. Danzu was thinking along the same lines. From what I managed to get out of Gaara, Sasuke continued, he is accompanied by his elite guard, 8 chosen warriors whose main objective is to protect the emperor from any and all threats. So what was the emperor doing in Suna, of all places? Asano demanded. He seems to be pretty chummy with the Gondai Kazekage, Kakashi said. We noticed an imperial consulate in the city. Gaara also mentioned that he had sent Tsurutobi and his team to personally train under the emperor himself. Given their performance in the Chunin exams, the emperor has succeeded. I have to admit that those three. Cleaned house. Asuma smiled at that. Had Meru stayed in Konoha, he would have made a fine Chunin. It could be a trick, Asano shot out. As much as I would like to believe Captain Itachi and Jounin Uchiha, we need more proof. Those merchant houses that has surfaced, the Pikara merchant house, they came from the west. Tsunade knew what Asano's intentions were. There's a traveling merchant from the Pikara house in the market. I will summon her to appear before the council. The merchant in question was a former special jounin level kunoichi named Meiki Asahina. Following the unification war, she had left her unit at the age of 27 and had signed on to the Western Empire's intelligence division, which ultimately led her to the east, her assignment being Fire County. Her cover was that of a kunoichi turned traveling merchant working for the Pikara Merchant House's Fire Country branch, located within the Imperial Consulate inside the Fire Capital. Tsunade found it strange that the emperor had refused to allow a fire consulate inside his empire. She also had a paltry bounty of 25 million ryo placed on her head, given her role in killing a group of bandits who had tried to raid the Pikara merchant caravan while on the road to the Fire Capital. Twice a week, she and her entourage of Pikara merchants would travel to Konoha. She was also loyal to her emperor to the point that she nearly blew her cover when she ended up arriving on the anniversary of Naruto's banishment. Fortunately, her co-workers had managed to calm her down. So imagine her surprise while packing up the stand and preparing for the trip back to the fire capital. She was summoned to the Hokage Tower by 3 members of the Anbu to face the Konoha Council. Tsunade looked at the former Kunoichi, easily identified by her crimson flak vest and her ninjado, which was strapped to her back. Meiki looked back at her with a bored yet curious expression. The slug sage cleared her throat. First off, thank you for coming to this meeting. You are not in trouble of any kind. We just have some questions we would like to ask of you. Meiki shrugged her shoulders. Shoot. First off, what your name? Tsunade asked. Meiki Asahina. Former captain of the Imperial Defense Forces, 3rd Battalion, 7th Division, 1st Squad. Now, I'm a merchant with the Pikara Merchant House, Meiki replied. A merchant, yet you are armed and wear the flak vest of a ninja, Kaharu pointed out. I wear this as a badge of honor. To remind myself that even though I am a merchant, I will always be a ninja, Meiki replied. The katana is for merely self-defense. A shinobi could respect that, Danzu included. An Anbu handed her the picture of the disguised Naruto. Can you identify this man? Tsunade asked. Of course, Meiki replied. That's His Imperial Majesty, the Crimson Fury of the Empire. In other words, he is the Emperor of the West. Whispers and murmurs were heard throughout the council chambers. Does he have a name? Danzu asked. He does, but I am under orders not to say it. The Emperor has many enemies, and there are those in the East who wish to make a name for themselves by eliminating His Imperial Majesty and take his throne. His clan is virtually the richest out of all of the clans in the West. That was understandable to the gathered shinobi. That's not good enough, Asana Haruno snapped. Tell us his name. Meiki turned to the civilian council member. You don't like that? Tough shit. I answer to the Emperor, not you. How dare you? Asana shouted, rising to her feet. You will tell us the name of the Emperor, or else you will pay a visit to Ibiki. Haruno sit down, Tsunade ordered. Leave it to the hot-headed Haruno to antagonize their guest. But Asana sputtered. Shut up and sit down. The Gondai bellowed, the sheer will alone made Asana collapse into her seat. Once Asana was properly humbled, Tsunade turned back to Meiki. I apologize for Representative Haruno's behavior. Apology accepted, Lady Hokage, Meiki replied. I take it you want to know more about the boss. The boss? Tsunade repeated. It's a nickname we have for the Emperor, Meiki explained. It goes back during the days of the Unification War. To answer your question, yes, Tsunade replied. We would like to know more. He's tall. 6 feet even, reddish blonde hair, blue eyes. But when he uses his bloodline, they turn to gold. Likes to wear black, which earned him the nickname the Man in Black. I fought alongside him in the Unification War, back when he was a teenager. You mean Shikaku began? Meiki nodded. He unified the lands and became emperor when he was 15 years old. That was 3 years ago. Quite an amazing feat for a kid. Asana snorted at that, but kept silent. Danzu, on the other hand, was pretty impressed. Yosh. The Emperor is truly a youthful opponent. Rock Lee shouted. To have unified the West in such a short time. Indeed, my most youthful student. Guy said. Dai-sensei. Lee. Dai-sensei. Lee. Dai-sensei. Lee. Bonk. Bonk. Fenton brought the dreaded jutsu to a halt by knocking both men out. The shinobi side breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Tenten, Tsunade said, thus sparing the council the dreaded flames of youth jutsu. Continue, Captain Asahina. He has that charisma, that strength. He can make you believe in him, Meiki continued. He fights alongside his soldiers. Even when we were on campaign, he would do his share of the work around the camp and still have time to conduct a war. He was trained in both the shinobi arts and the way of the samurai. I would die in a second for him. We all would. Loyalty, Itachi Yamanaka said. A powerful weapon for any leader to have. Meiki nodded. Yes. He is loyal to his soldiers and to the people, and vice versa. What can you tell us about his armed forces? Danzu asked, getting a nasty glare from Tsunade. Sorry. I can't divulge that information. Will that be all, Lady Hokage? Tsunade nodded. Yes. You may go. Meiki bowed and departed from the chambers. Once she was gone, another round of talks began. I say she is lying, Asana said. We should take her to Ibiki and see if he can loosen that tongue of hers. Danzu was thinking along the same lines. Only difference was that he was considering kidnapping Meiki and converting her to his route. But he quickly dismissed that idea. If she was tough enough to have a bounty on her head, then sending rude Anbu after her would be a bad idea. She was not lying, Itachi rebuked. I checked her mental patterns while we talked. She was very truthful and open. And from the look of things, she can still fight, even though she is no longer a ninja. We don't know what the ninja from the Western Empire are capable of. If the Emperor himself is a skilled fighter, what does that say about his forces? Tsunade sighed. Itachi did have a point. As of this moment the Emperor is to be left alone. I will not have Konoha wiped out over a misunderstanding. The council nodded. The Gondai turned to the injured Uchiha. Uchiha, get your injuries taken care of. This meeting is adjourned. Hyuga compound, the following day. Itachi and Hanabi Hyuga faced the council of elders. Hanabi was still bruised from her match with Maru Sarutobi, while Itachi sported a fresh bruise from trying to attack the Emperor while in Suna, as well as an angry red handprint from where Kurenai had slapped him. Both the clan head and his designated heir did not look very happy. The reason being was not that Hanabi had made the grade to Chunin, as she was defeated by Maru Sarutobi. The reason was that earlier that day, a courier ninja had dropped off Hinata's hit I-8 and a scroll addressed to Itachi and Hanabi. The scroll had all but verified it. Hinata had defected from the clan and the village. Hinata had disappeared the night before the Emperor had fought Sasuke Uchiha in the finals. Itachi had the main and branch clan members comb Suna looking for her, but to no avail. Until that morning, when he received Hinata's hit I-8 and the scroll. The scroll was simple and to the point, and it was from the Emperor of the West. The Lord Itachi Hyuga and Hanabi Hyuga, heir apparent of the Hyuga clan. As of this moment, Hinata Hyuga has been granted political asylum. She is no longer a Chunin in the Konohagakure shinobi forces, nor is she no longer a citizen of Konohagakure no Sado, as she is under my protection. I have personally removed the cage bird seal from her, thus freeing her from any and all obligations owed to the Hyuga clan. Sincerely, the Emperor of the Unified West. It was after he had received the letter that he tracked down Kurenai Sarutobi. She was out with her husband and their daughter, as well as with the Inoshikacho trio. Flashback. Earlier that day. Itachi, along with Hanabi, found Kurenai Sarutobi in the middle of lunch. Said ninja was with her husband and daughter inside a restaurant. Also tagging along was Asuma's former students, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi and Ino Yamanaka. Do you know where my daughter is, Sarutobi? Itachi demanded, his voice laced with anger. The patrons in the meantime had decided to clear out of the restaurant from the impending explosion that was soon to follow. Asuma had handed Hitomi to both Ino and Choji and sent her outside as well. Kurenai looked back at the arrogant clan head with no fear. Which daughter? The one you pushed aside and branded? Or your precious little heir? Itachi's response to that was to slam down the scroll on the table. You know damn well which one I am talking about. Hinata was your responsibility during the Chunin exams. And you let her escape. Now Kurenai was getting angry. Don't you blame this on me, Hyuga, the red-eyed Genjutsu mistress shot back. Whose idea was it to send her to Suna so she could witness Hanabi's triumph? That was your idea, not mine. By the way, how did Hanabi do in the exams? I see that she is not wearing a Chunin vest. Asuma, in the meantime, was reading the scroll, with Shikamaru looking over his shoulder. Is this for real? The chain-smoking clan head asked. Very, Hanabi replied. Just so you know, we are going to hold your wife responsible for this, Captain Sarutobi. My wife is not to blame, Asuma replied flatly. Your father was the ones who placed Hinata under virtual house arrest after branding her with that damn seal. And I have to agree with my wife. You sent her to Suna and you underestimated her. Hinata is gone and I hold you responsible, Itachi sneered. I hope you're happy, Kurenai Sarutobi. She is gone to be a whore to that upstart of an emperor. Slap. In a flash, Kurenai was standing in front of the Hyuga clan leader. Said leader now had a red handprint on his face, the end result of Kurenai slapping him in full view of his daughter, Asuma and Shikamaru. Hanabi rushed in to intervene but was stopped in her tracks by Shikamaru's Kagimane. You're a damn fool, Hyuga, Kurenai spat out. You placed that damn seal on her when she wasn't the perfect little heiress you wanted. Both the main and cadet branch treated her like garbage because of her support towards Naruto. At least with the Emperor, she can be happy for once in her life. At the loss of face, both from his daughter leaving and being physically and verbally berated by the Genjutsu master, Itachi was ready to attack. However, a trench knife to the throat stayed his hand. He hadn't seen Asuma move that fast since ever. Touch my wife, Hyuga, Asuma deadpanned, and I'll gut you where you stand. Before a brawl could ensue, a squad of Anbu Black Ops, led by Kakashi, intervened. Then flashback. In the end, Itachi and Hanabi were reprimanded. Kurenai was cleared of any wrongdoing, but it was a bittersweet victory. Tsunade had to follow the rules of the Konoha charter, and Hinata was placed in the bingo book as a A-rank missing ninja, with orders to retrieve on site. Now, the clan head and his heir was in a meeting with the Hyuga council. This is most disturbing news, Hiashi, one of the council members said. Not only did Hinata had defected from the clan and from Konoha, but the emperor was able to remove the caged bird seal. Impossible. A female Hyuga main branch member said. That seal was designed to be permanent. How can the emperor remove it? Either way, no one from the branch clan must not know about this, the first member said. If they find out that the caged bird seal can be removed, then we are looking at a civil war. I agree, Hanabi said. Hinata is gone, and the Bikogan is in the hands of the empire. That is unfortunate. But the emperor cannot protect Hinata all the time. She is, as my father has told me, and it has already been proven, weak. All we have to do is bide our time. Hinata will return to the east. And when she does, we will strike. Furthermore, if it pleases my father and the Honorable Hyuga Council, I propose an incentive to get Hinata back. Such as? A third council member asked. The bounty contract on Hinata, Hanabi replied. 20 million ryo to anyone who brings Hinata back alive to face justice. A reasonable incentive, Hiashi said. After talking it over, the three council members turned to Hiashi and Hanabi. Your proposal is acceptable. Make it so. Several hours later. Shikamaru Nara was currently enjoying his favorite pastime. Cloud watching. Or at least he was when the form of Sasuke Uchiha blocked out the clouds and the sun. So is it true then? Shikamaru asked, not moving from his perch. The man in black is the emperor. It is, the Uchiha replied. This complicates things. What do you want with me? The word, with you and your father, Sasuke said before walking off in the direction of the Nara home. The lazy Chunin groaned. Damn. This is very troublesome. Nara Ranch, later on. Shikaku Nara played host to Sasuke Uchiha. The clan head deer herder and his heir sat at a table with the Uchiha. Yoshino had served the three men drinks, stopping only to give her husband and the last Uchiha a nasty look each before retreating into the kitchen. Apparently, even the hot-headed wife of Shikaku disliked playing hostess to even Sasuke Uchiha. To what we owe the honor of your visit, Sasuke Uchiha? Shikaku asked as he took a sip of his tea. The Emperor of the West, Sasuke replied. We all fought against him. We all lost. You want to trade notes, Shikaku surmised. Not much to tell about him, only that for a kid, he's pretty damn tough. I always thought that he would be older. But still, to unify the West in only 2 years, very impressive. Fighting-wise, we got off light. Can't say the same for Itachi, the Inyazuka and the Hyuga. He's a hard person to beat, his fighting style ranging from direct and brutal to smooth and fluid. I saw that as well, Sasuke said. His taijutsu and ninjutsu are top-notch. Add the fact that his bloodline pretty much blocks the Sharingan's ability to copy jutsu, he is indeed a formidable fighter. Given his skills and abilities, Shikamaru began, he could easily make SS ranking in the bingo book. Danzu's taken an interest in him. Pretty obvious, Sasuke said. I think he's given up on me joining his side. But you got to admit that it's strange. The Emperor knew exactly how to fight each and every one of us. He knew our strengths and our weaknesses and exploited them to his advantage. He broke your Kage main before Ino could possess him with her mind jutsu and repeated the feat with your father. He knew how to counter and exploit the weakness of the Hyuga's Jaiuken. Rock Lee respects him, despite losing to him, as does Guy. Tenten is pretty much obsessed with that sword of his. But that beatdown he gave to the Inyazuka and Captain Itachi, Shikaku shuddered. Very troublesome. Sasuke nodded. Indeed. And look what happened to Itachi. And he and his elite guards took apart Danzu and his route, as well as 2 separate squads of Anbu Black Ops. Captain Mitarashi wants a rematch against him. There's a lot more to this guy than he appears. You think that, wouldn't you? Shikaku responded. Itachi may have been an idiot for a sensei, but he did teach one valuable lesson. Look underneath the Uchiha replied. Gaara seems to know him. Why else would he attend the Suna exams? You're thinking that he could be allied with Suna? Shikamaru asked. Sasuke shrugged his shoulders. Could be. I noticed an imperial consulate in the city. And Gaara was more than willing to allow the Emperor and myself to fight in the Suna arena once the tournament was completed. So yeah, an alliance with Suna is pretty feasible. Hard to believe that he unified the West while most of us made Chunin, Shikamaru drawled. And he survived a confrontation with Itachi and his shark-faced buddy, a feat in itself. And the fact that he has intercepted most of the Jinchuriki from the Akatsuki Sasuke trailed off. Do you think that he can be among them? Shikaku and Shikamaru stiffened slightly. They knew that Sasuke was talking about Naruto. While the remaining members of Cell 7 were indifferent in regards to his banishment, Sasuke showed general remorse in seeing his former teammate banished. Shikamaru had even overheard him at his cousin Obito's grave one day, saying that Naruto may have been a knucklehead and a dead last, but he was loyal and that the council should not have banished him. But ever since Sasuke had released the details of the planned Uchiha revolt, as well as of the circumstances of the Nine Tails attack on Konoha, he has gained even more of the shinobi population's mistrust. The civilian council continued to kiss his ass. Sasuke downed the rest of the tea and placed the cup back on the tray. Either way, I hope he is still alive and happy, regardless of his banishment. Thank you for your time, Lord Nara Shikamaru. I think I can find my way out. Once Sasuke was gone, Shikaku looked pensive for the first time in a while. So what do you think? He asked Shikamaru. Uchiha has a point, Shikamaru said. Deception's always been part of our way of life. The Emperor is a wild card at best. A highly skilled wild card, but a wild card nonetheless. Despite everything that has happened, he did save Asuma-sensei from hiding. Shikaku wasn't convinced. What do you really think, son? Now that Sasuke was gone, Shikamaru could speak freely. That the Emperor could have spies and informants in the east. Maybe inside the Fire Capital, or even Konoha. Worst case scenario is that the Emperor is connected to Konoha in some way and knows how each of us fight and counter our signature techniques. And the way he had beaten down Neji and Lord Hyuga, not to mention how he brutally beaten Captain Hatake, the Inyazuka matriarch and Kiba shows that those five had slighted him in some way. Everyone else just got lucky. And the Emperor has been intercepting the Jinchuriki. Sasuke did make a valid point. Uzumaki could be among them. Do you still think that he is the Nine Tails reborn? Shikamaru thought about it for a moment. When he was banished, yes. But now that I think about it, if he was the QB, then he would have long since razed this place to the ground. I think he really is the jailer. But more importantly, he will probably never forgive us for favoring Uchiha over him. The elder Nara nodded. He then made a decision. Shikamaru, what I am about to tell you must not be uttered outside these walls. No one, not even Asuma, Urchauji, or Ino or the Hokage herself must not know. Promise me. Shikamaru nodded. Is this a troublesome secret? Troublesome does not even begin to describe it, Shikaku replied. It concerns the circumstances of Uzumaki's banishment. Swear it to me, on your honor as a member of the Nara clan. Shikamaru sighed. I swear on the honor of the Nara clan. I will tell no one. Then Shikaku told him. Once he was finished, he stood up. Feel free to throw up. I know I did. Once Shikaku was out of the room, that was what Shikamaru had did. He made a beeline to the bathroom and emptied the contents of his stomach. His dad was right. Troublesome did not even begin to describe what has happened to Uzumaki. My god, what have we done, was the last thought that Shikamaru had before he puked again. Entry 1. My first day in the Western Empire. I'm still thinking that this is a dream. That I'll wake back up in Konoha and that I still have that damned seal on my forehead. Thankfully, it's not a dream. I'm here with Naruto. I'm finally free from my family. I heard from Temari that the Konoha ninja were looking for me at the conclusion of the Chunin exams back in Suna. They didn't know that I was hiding out at the Imperial Consulate. I know that this act will make me a missing ninja and will earn a place in the bingo book, but I really don't care. Now that I'm here with Naruto, I can do almost anything. While hiding out at the Imperial Consulate, Naruto had introduced me to his bodyguards. The elite guards, as he called them. A group of ninja and samurai assigned to protect him. Two of them really stood out, as Naruto told me that they were once part of the Akatsuki. Konan and Yuhiko. Naruto had rescued them from death at the hands of their former organization, and now they serve him as his guards. Once the tournament was over, Naruto said his farewells to Gaara and returned back west. Konohamaru no, make that Maru, Mogi and Yuden followed him, Gaara having assigned them to the Suna consulate back in the west. Naruto had their Chunin vests with them and would present them to the three once we returned home. Naruto had used a special type of jutsu to return home, called the Demon's Gate, allowing himself access to any location he has been. Only thing was that it used a lot of chakra. But it was a very effective jutsu. The first thing that Naruto did when we returned was to tell those inside the Imperial complex that I was his honored guest. Any attempts on my life will be met with instant death. He gave me the tour of the Imperial complex, introducing me to several members of his staff along the way. Including the former Raikage. Naruto also confirmed that he rescued and his brother from being assassinated when he was overthrown, and that served as his chief advisor. Naruto also said that aside from Yugur and Gaara, he saved the Jinchuriki and offered them a home. But one encounter really stood out in my mind. That encounter was with the Nine Tails herself. Flashback. Imperial Complex House of Sovereigns, Council Chambers. Maru Sarutobi, Mogi and Yuden stood before the Emperor of the West, Hinata standing beside him, looking on. Also present was Sanshi, Takuma Chiba, Heiei Akajima, Kokoro Yamada and Rina Shiratori. Temari and several high-ranking Suna Jounin were also present for this ceremony. Naruto produced a scroll, unrolled it and activated it. 3 Chunin vests appeared before the 3 Suna ninja. Money cannot buy the honor which you three have earned, Naruto said as Team Misfit claimed their prize. You make us all proud. The gathered audience applauded. By order of the Gondai Kizikage, you are now Chunin of the Sand, Tamari decreed. You three are assigned to the garrison at the Suna consulate. As your training with Emperor Namikaze was a success, Gaara will allow you to continue your training under the Emperor. If this continues, you may become special Jounin. The older people congratulated the newly minted Chunin. In the meantime, Naruto had exited the room, Hinata following him. He had stopped a valet and asked them to order some barbecue from the village for the graduation party that would soon follow. On their way back to the imperial palace, they were greeted by a voluptuous red-headed woman in an elegant kimono. "Ah, I see you found her, kid," the woman began. "But I did," Naruto replied. She was in Suna acting as a chaperone for the Chunin exams. The red-head turned to Hinata. "Hinata Hyuga, of House Hyuga. The kid has spoken highly of you. It is good to see you again." Hinata was puzzled. "You know me?" "In a way. I was sealed inside his gut up until he was able to reverse the seal." The woman inclined her head as she introduced herself, watching with amusement as Hinata's eyes bulged out of her head as her tails emerged. "Katami Akashiya, Chief Prime Minister of the Unified West. But I am also known as Kyuubi no Yoko." Then flashback. Naruto gave me the backstory shortly afterward about the circumstances regarding both himself and Katami. And I always thought that the Nine Tails was a bloodthirsty demon. Katami proved me wrong. She's actually pretty nice. Following the dinner celebrating the Misfits' promotion to Chunin, Naruto and I talked for most of the night. Actually, he did most of the talking while I just listened to his tales about fighting in the Unification War. I can honestly say that I am impressed. We also talked about our relationship. I still love him, and Naruto had reciprocated those feelings back in Suna. We both agreed to let things run their course. Entry 2. The following morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Naruto was already awake and about. He was nice enough to leave me a clean uniform that I can wear until he can get me some more clothes. I cleaned myself up and changed clothes. Naruto and his elite guards were hanging around outside the training hall with Meru, Mogi and Yuden. Naruto was sparring with Meru while the others chatted and joked with each other. I watched this scene from a distance with a smile on my face. Naruto always had that air about him. Even back in Konoha, when he was screaming to the rooftops that he was going to be Hokage, he could make you believe in him. This wasn't the Emperor of the West I was seeing. This was just a man who cares about his people. He can laugh with them, joke with them. Just because his father was Konoha's hero and his mother was the former ruler of Whirlpool didn't mean that he could mingle with the common people. While watching them, Katami came to me with an offer. An offer that would change my life. Flashback. Imperial Complex, Kaiman City. He never stopped thinking about you, you know. Hinata eeped at a deep voice and turned around. There, in a shaded area of the complex near the training hall, in all her nine-tailed glory, was Katami. The Kyuubi no Kitsune was resting in the shade, chuckling inwardly at scaring the crap of her former container's chosen mate. Hinata eyed the giant fox warily. It was just as big as Akamaru, if not bigger. Even more so, the ninja and samurai that served as the grounds guards did not bat an eyelash over the presence of the Nine Tails. "I'm not going to bite you, Hinata," Katami said, her voice showing amusement. "Naruto would be very upset if I tried to eat his chosen mate." Hinata blushed at that. Both her and Naruto had a long chat about how their relationship should go. From Katami's perspective, Naruto choosing the former heiress as his wife was a foregone conclusion. But the next thing that Katami had said had her curiosity piqued. "Since you are here, I have a proposal for you," the massive fox began. Konoha was known for producing the three legendary sages, but Whirlpool was known for its own sage. The Fox Sage. Naruto's grandmother and mother served as the first two sages. Naruto sees great potential in you, as do I. I watched your performance in the Chunin exams through his eyes when you fought against your cousin. If you agree to my proposal, Hinata, you will undergo training to become the third Fox Sage." "Why me?" Hinata replied. "Why not Naruto?" "The Fox Sage can only be a female and a member of the Uzumaki clan," Katami replied. "Well, Naruto is Uzumaki, he can't be the sage for obvious reasons." "But I'm not of the Uzumaki clan," Hinata pointed out. "At least, not by marriage, anyway," Katami replied. "But I am willing to overlook that part. So what do you say, Hinata? Are you willing to show Naruto that you are strong? Are you willing to show your former clan that you are not worthless when the time comes to face them? Since you have defected from both Konoha and from the Hyuga, a confrontation between them is inevitable. Naruto knows your true worth. Prove him right." Hinata had to admit that Katami had a point. If anything, she would have to face Hiashi, Hanabi and Niji in the future. Katami was offering her a way to prepare herself for the upcoming storm. And a chance to prove to Naruto that she was no pushover, that she was truly worthy of his heart. Hinata slowly nodded. I accept your offer, Katami. The Nine-Tails smiled, showing off her rows of sharp teeth. Good, Hinata. The training will take at least 6 months. I will teach you ninjutsu and taijutsu, as well as how to heal. What is your elemental release? The Hyugas are mostly attuned to water, but mine is fire release. Hinata sounded ashamed. Katami caught on immediately. You have nothing to be ashamed for, Hinata. Fire is the strongest of the elemental releases. Naruto is a master of wind and fire. You have the potential to become even better than Mito and Kushina. Oh, yes, Hinata. You will become great. In the back of her mind, Hinata wondered just what she had gotten herself into. Then flashback. Entry 3. My training to become the third Fox Age began the following day. The Fox Age is 3 parts. Part healer, part warrior and part assassin. Mito was the better assassin, while Kushina was the better warrior. My interest was in healing, and before I left Konoha, I was studying shiatsu and herbal medicine from Tsunade, as well as getting some pointers in regards to diplomatic relations. Monday through Thursday, I have to undergo taijutsu training. Fridays I spend time with Sanshi, who took me on as a pupil in diplomatic relations. The weekends I spend with Naruto, as he showed me around town. Tatami also told me not to shy away from my Jayuken style. I knew the style from front to back, since Hiashi basically drilled it into my head. But when I wasn't performing up to his standards, he abandoned me and focused on Hanabi instead. So during one of our spars, Katami had defeated me while I used the original style. Naruto was watching the entire thing. Afterward, he pulled me to the side and gave me some advice. You know what's wrong with the style, Hinata. The solution is simple. Remove all the flaws and weaknesses of the style. Then the gentle fist will be unstoppable. Think of it this way. A sculptor doesn't keep adding more clay to a statue. He instead removes the inessentials until the truth is revealed. Come to think of it, Naruto was right. I tried to voice my opinion on the style to Hiashi, but he refused to listen. Now, I have free reign. Naruto taught me how to make a shadow clone, which helped in my sage training, as well as revamping the Jayuken style. From what I know about the Hyuga clan, it was the first clan to settle in Konoha, following the battle between Tsunade's grandfather and Madara Uchiha over who would be Hokage. The Jayuken was designed to be an elite style, given our abilities to see a person's chakra system. But I dug in a bit deeper. The original name of the style before it switched to Jayuken was called Kin Shiki Kabujutsu. The original scrolls were either lost to history or were destroyed as the style evolved. I always thought that since Naruto had beaten both Hiashi and Neji twice, they would at least improve on the weaknesses of the style. I was wrong. So after training with Katami, I spent 2 hours a day with a shadow clone and several notebooks as I put in all of the basic, mid-level and advanced techniques of the Jayuken. Then I stripped them all down and worked my way from the bottom, using my mistakes during the fights with Neji and Hanabi as references. Improvisation and creativity was not allowed back in Konoha, as the clan thought that it would weaken and taint the so-called purity of the honorable style. Honor. Konoha was supposed to honor the wishes of Naruto's father in regards to his son, and he was ignored. I later found out that Asuna Haruno had spearheaded the whole thing. Turns out that she was madly in love with the Yellow Flash, and when Minato chose Kushina over her, Asuna was furious. So with Minato and Kushina dead and Naruto left as an orphan, she unleashed hell on Naruto because Minato had loved Kushina over her. Naruto told me what he thought about honor. Honor is nothing but bullshit. Honor was only designed by weak people to keep the strong in line. I learned that when I was banished. I never put that much stock in honor. From my experiences, those who call themselves honorable were hiding their true agenda. There is only the right action, and what a good person truly desires is here, points to his head, and here, points to his heart. By what you decide and how you will live a good life or not. Leave it to Naruto to inspire me to do what I know is right. It's one of the reasons why I love him so much. Imperial Palace, nighttime 3 weeks after the Suna Chunin exams. Ow. Hold still, Hinata. I'm almost done. Ow. Inside the master bedroom of the Imperial Palace, Naruto was tending to Hinata's injuries. Katami had created a wooden training dummy, similar to the wooden Wing Chun training dummy with stand, and had Hinata train on it for most of the day. The end result was skinned knuckles, several cuts and bruises, and a couple of splinters. Naruto was busy tending to Hinata's wounded hands. A first aid kit was on the table, and it was open. Naruto was plucking the remaining splinters out of Hinata's right hand with a pair of tweezers. Her other hand was already treated and bandaged. Fortunately, it was Friday night, meaning that the Emperor and Hinata had the weekend off. If it's any consolation, I had my share of injuries when I was training under Katami as well, Naruto said. Combine that with Sanshi, Zabuza and her, Katami was the toughest. Between you and me, her training methods could give Guy a run for her money. She was that bad. Ow, Hinata winced. You're getting off light and becoming a sage, Naruto said as he cleaned the injuries and was currently bandaging them. I was busy learning how to fight so I can unify the lands. She's training you for 6 months. I had to train for 9. Sanshi was strict in ways that would make old man Tsurutobi blush, Zabuza was a certified psycho, Yujito is a sadist, and Katami's an insane dominatrix. Hinata beeped an eyebrow. And those 4 helped you win the war? I wouldn't be emperor without those 4 and their insane training methods. True. Okay, all done, Naruto said as he finished tending to Hinata's injuries. You should be fine come Monday. The Emperor of the West packed up the first aid kit and rose from the seat. Unknown to him, Hinata followed him. Naruto walked over to the nightstand and stowed the kit away. When he turned around, he was caught completely unaware by Hinata standing behind him. They had kissed before, but this time around, it was Hinata, not Naruto, who had initiated it. This was another thing that Naruto had liked. Hinata was becoming more assertive and less meek. She was becoming his equal, but out of respect, she was his second in command. Oh, where the Hyuga and Konoha are going to be in for a shock when Hinata resurfaces as not as the fox sage, but as the Empress consort of the Emperor himself. Empress consort Hinata Namikaze, Naruto thought as he carried her to the bed. I like that. The couple would make out for most of the night. They both agreed that they would take their relationship further when they were both ready. Right now, this was all they needed for the moment. Entry 4. Naruto has received a copy of the bingo book from Temari. Sure enough, it has my profile in it. A-ranked missing ninja with a retrieve on side order. Even more worse was the bounty contract that came with the bingo book. 20 million ryo. That's more than half of what Asuma is worth. Good thing that Naruto does not plan on heading back east for a while. But I'm not worried. Naruto will protect me. I've seen him in action and he will not hesitate to kill anyone who threatens his empire or those he care about. This also verified my desire to become even stronger. I also was introduced to A, the former Raikage of Kumo. Given the fact that I was nearly kidnapped by Kumo ninja when I was a child, I was wary. He reassured me that the incident in which Hisashi had lost his life was his predecessor's doing, as he wanted the Bikogen. I knew that Yujito was a Jinchuriki, as was A's brother. Naruto verified it for me. 2 of his elite guards were formerly of the Akatsuki, the organization of S-class criminals back east. Naruto had intercepted the surviving Jinchuriki and offered them asylum within the empire. As for Konan and Yuhiko, he had them place inside his elite guard not only to protect him, but also to keep an eye on both of them. So far, Katami has not seen any reason not to trust them. While I was training with Katami, she told me the whole story. The 6-path sage, the 10-tailed beast, Madara's Eye of the Moon plan, and Naruto's plans in trying to stop it from destroying everything. I hope that Naruto succeeds in destroying the Akatsuki and Madara. Entry 5. My research into overhauling the Gentle Fist is progressing smoothly. Back when I was in Konoha, I asked that bastard I once called father about it. His reply. The Kinshiki Kabujutsu is forbidden for a reason, Hinata. Not that it would matter since you are a weakling. What he didn't know was that one night I snuck inside the main house and after searching through his study, I found the Kinshiki scroll. They did not give me any fighting techniques, but it did give me a bit of history on the predecessor to the Gentle Fist. The forbidden style of Kabujutsu was in the eyes of the main branch, a primitive style, designed to take on multiple targets. In layman terms, it was a style based on instinct. One thing that they did incorporate into the Gentle Fist was the 8 trigrams and made it a more lethal move. Whereas the Gentle Fist relied solely on disrupting the chakra systems of the enemy, the Kinshiki Kabujutsu targets not only the chakra points, but also has the ability to tear muscle and bone, as well as targeting the shiatsu points. The only reason I did not research this further was that I was pushed into the cadet branch. Naruto was my test subject. Or rather, a shadow clone of his while he and Katami watched. I first started with the basics of the Kinshiki. The Kinshiki is above all things, a fighting style that can be used to deceive the opponent and to exploit their weaknesses. I took down the clone in less than 10 minutes. My theories on the Kinshiki proved to be correct. No fixed positions, no set movements. It's a lot like Naruto's fighting styles. Professional and direct, no wasted movements whatsoever. If the basics can drop a clone in less than 10 minutes, then I would like to see how the advanced styles will do. Entry 6. At the meeting of the Imperial Council, Naruto introduced me to the other council members. Sanshi I already met. I sat in on the council meeting. The others had heard only an inkling about me, that the Emperor has finally found someone worthy of his heart. I think Lady Ihara was disappointed that she was unable to arrange a marriage with one of her daughters to the Emperor, but she was still happy for Naruto. I told them the truth about my past. How Naruto and I came up together in the Konoha Ninja Academy, all the way to the events during the Chunin exams in Suna. I also told them that Katami was training me to become the next sage and that Naruto and I decided to marry once my sage training is complete. The council members were shocked to hear such a thing, but they all gave me their support, formally recognizing me as the fiancé of the Emperor of the West. Once that meeting was over, Naruto introduced me to the spring daimyo, Yuki Fujikaze. She was in town shooting a new Princess Gale movie and had decided to stop by the Imperial Palace. I was curious as to how she and Naruto knew each other, and Naruto told me. They met shortly before the Sasuke retrieval mission when she was hiding from her uncle, who was the ruler of spring, then called Snow. It also explained the funny autograph I saw of Naruto and her in his office. Yuki was surprised, then overjoyed at the news of our engagement. Naruto promised her that she will be the first to personally receive a wedding invitation. Aside from that fact, Yuki was there to talk of a trading agreement with the Empire and Spring Country. Naruto's terms were more than generous. Allow a Pakara branch to be established in Spring, and Yuki can get much needed items to Spring Country at a reduced price. She agreed. Entry 7. It's been nearly 5 months to the day that I agreed to come here. 5 months and my sage training is nearly complete. The Kinshiki Kabujutsu has been perfected. Of course, I needed a training dummy, so Takuma Chiba volunteered. Naruto and the elite guards were in attendance inside the training hall, as were the Imperial Council and Katami. Naruto acted as proctor. He laid down the ground rules. No crippling moves, no killing the opponent. Hand-to-hand combat only. He then gave the signal to begin. I saw why Takuma Chiba served as a member of the elite guards. His taijutsu is extraordinary. But I kept pace with him. Aside from my training with Katami and Sanshi, Naruto has been helping me as well. He taught me how to make shadow clones, and of their one major advantage. Whenever a clone is dismissed, the person gains their experience. The most I can make were 5. But they served their purpose. Takuma was not holding back. Neither was I. We fought long and hard for 15 minutes, trading blows, until I decided to end it by using the 64 palms. Takuma went down after I sealed his Tenketsu. Seeing that he had lost, he conceded defeat. It was that moment I knew that I had earned the respect of not only the elite guards, but of the council as well. Naruto and Katami looked on in pride as the Imperial Council formally recognized me as the chosen consort to their emperor. Katami gave me 2 gifts. A pair of ninjato that once belonged to Naruto's mother, and she enhanced my eyes. Now, I can use the Bikogan to target muscle and bone more effectively, aside from the Tenketsu points. Even though she did not say it outright, she knew that my training was complete. Entry 8. My father knows I'm back in the east. Naruto and I had gotten roped into an inspection tour of the Pakara merchant houses. Naruto's spy network back east has reported that since they knew that Naruto was the emperor, but not his true identity, the Konoha ninja has been ordered to give him a wife birth. Unfortunately, given my bingo book status, I'm still fair game. Only when most of the ninja hunting me find out that I am with the emperor do they back down, as they don't want their respective villages razed to the ground by a pissed off emperor. Too bad the 10-man team from the Hyuga main branch did not get the memo. That and when the lead ninja, a main branch member by the name of Hyuga, tried to activate the Kagura bird seal, he was shocked to see that I was no longer branded. Out of all of the main branch members who gave me grief when I was shoved into the cadet branch, Hyuga topped the list. Which made my revenge ever so sweet. He once said to me that I should kill myself after I was branded, as being alive brought even more dishonor upon the Hyuga. So after incapacitating the 9 Hyuga, I summoned 2 clones that held him down while I performed the hand seals of the caged bird seal. I think Katami has been rubbing off on me. Naruto was right about her training methods. She is an insane dominatrix. After I branded Hyuga, I let him go. He was no longer a threat as the psychological damage has been done. He had insulted and berated the cadet branch members for most of his life. Consider this karma. Hyuga complex, Konohagakure no Seido. The Ashi Hyuga knew that something was wrong when he began to read the mission report. Hanabi and Niji sat in front of the Hyuga patriarch as his expression grew from neutral to angry. The 10 main branch ninja were the pick of the litter. They should have no problem in retrieving Hinata from the empire. What he didn't expect was that his daughter, the same one who everyone in the clan had written off as weak, not only defeated all 10 Hyuga ninja, but it also branded Hyuga with the caged bird seal. The Ashi slammed the mission scroll onto the table. Hanabi didn't even bother to read it, as she and Niji was already briefed on the chain of events which led up to this point. Niji, on the other hand, hid his emotions well. Despite disliking Hinata, he hated Hyuga even more. In his mind, Hyuga got what he deserved. What made Ashi so angry was that Hyuga had committed suicide rather than to go through life with that accursed seal. It was another black eye to the illustrious Hyuga clan. It appears that Hinata has learned some new tricks while she was away, Hanabi noted. Then again, I'm not surprised. You spread your legs to the most powerful man in the West and he will teach you how to defend yourself. Haru will be most displeased when he finds out that his son has committed suicide, Hiashi said. Turning to his remaining daughter and nephew, he gave them their orders. Hanabi Niji, find Hinata and bring her back. I don't care how it's to be done. If we do that, then we risk the wrath of the Emperor, Niji pointed out. This is a clan matter, Hiashi snapped. He can always find another whore to keep him warm at night. If word gets out that Hinata has been freed from her seal, but also drove a main branch member to suicide, then we will lose our standing in Konoha. See to your orders. Hanabi and Niji nodded and left the room. Entry 9. I was with Naruto and the others in the fire capital, where Naruto was inspecting the consulate and the Pukkara branch. It was there that we were invited to the fire daimyo's estate. Not one to turn down such an offer, Naruto and I accepted. The old daimyo was courteous and cordial. Like most of the leaders in the elemental countries, he had been following the emperor's story with great interest. The daimyo was most surprised when Naruto revealed to him his true identity. His exact words were to think that Minato's son would have become the emperor of the West. Your father was my friend, your grace. And I am yours. He also said that he was the one who had personally intervened when Konoha had tried to have him placed inside the bingo book following his banishment. Sadly, as I had willingly deserted Konoha, there was nothing that he could do for me. But since I am going to be his wife, I will automatically be protected by diplomatic immunity. When Naruto asked who was responsible for getting him out of the bingo book, the Fire Lord remained silent on the matter. It was after we had left the Fire Lord's estate that I saw that Niji and Hanabi were waiting for me near the Imperial Consulate. Naruto and the others stepped to the side as they understood that this was my fight. Hanabi was complacent in her superiority, thinking that she would be the one who could do what the others couldn't. As for Niji, I had some unfinished business with him, stemming back from when he tried to kill me during the Chunin exams. It was a 2-on-1 match. Gyukin versus the Kinshiki. Hanabi was no problem, as she was so full of herself, thinking that I would be an easy victory. As Sanshi once told me, pride comes before destruction and haughtiness before the fall. So imagine Niji's surprise when I calmly put down Hanabi without breaking a sweat before turning to him. We still have a score to settle, cousin, I snarled. Hanabi was reckless, was Niji's reply. The emperor can't help you this time. Niji underestimated me. He wasn't expecting either the Kitsune Ryu Tajutsu or the Kinshiki Kabujutsu. The prodigy of the Hyuga branch clan has fallen off his glorified pedestal. Flashback. Fire capital, fire country. Niji sank to his knees. The battle between himself and Hinata had gone in a direction that he did not expect. Even Hanabi was shocked as she held her limp arm with her good hand, Hinata having closed off the Tenketsu points, as well as dislocating it for good measure. Hinata stood tall, barely winded from the 2-on-1 battle between Niji and Hanabi. Inside, she was bursting with pride. The Kinshiki Kabujutsu has exceeded her expectations in its first major test. Hinata tapped one finger on her chin. Now what does this remind me of? Oh, yes, the Chunin exams, when you tried to kill me out of spite. Now the roles have been reversed. You're still weak, Niji hissed. You were never cut out to be a ninja. You're wrong about that, Hinata replied as she activated her Bikogen. You tried to kill me, now let me return the favor. Niji's eyes went wide. This wasn't the meek Hinata he remembered. This new Hinata was more driven, more focused and more ruthless. You wouldn't. Her hands were laced with purple-tinted chakra as she unleashed her final attack on Niji. One that Naruto recognized all too well. Oh, I would, cousin, she replied, her voice laced with venom when she called Niji by his title. 8 trigrams 64 palms. With that, Hinata charged. 1 becomes 2. 2 becomes 4. 8. 16. 32. 64. Hinata finished with a double palm strike to the sternum that lifted Niji off his feet and sent him crashing into Hanabi. The current heiress looked on with fear as the former heiress calmly drew her ninjato and approached the both of them. I can just as easily kill the both of you and send your heads back to Konoha as a warning, Hinata hissed as she deactivated her Bikogen, the lavender orbs taking on a purplish hue as she radiated killer intent. However, you two are more useful to me alive instead of dead. Give Hiashi a message for me and I'll consider the both of you loose ends. She brought one of the ninjato to Hanabi's eye level. Can you do that for me? Fearfully, Hanabi nodded. Tell Hiashi that if he wants me, then he will have to do his own dirty work. If he is man enough to brand me with the caged bird seal, then he is more than man enough to come after me. I will be in Wave Country in 2 weeks. We will settle this once and for all. She sheathed her ninjato. Take him and leave. Hanabi did just as that. Flashback end. Entry 10. Sigh. When will these ninja ever learn? You think the ninja from Konoha would understand that trying to cash in on the bounty is a very bad idea? First it was the Anbu who attacked me in Water Country while we were visiting the Hidden Mist village. They learned the hard way that attacking a woman who can unleash a volley of arrows rapid fire from a chakrayumi is a bad idea. Then, Sakura Haruno attacked me while we were in Wave. Apparently, she was sent by Hiashi to soften me up before the match. So I sent her back to Konoha after performing the 64 palms on her. Naruto had watched a fight from the Pukkara merchant house in Wave City and shook his head. It was not even a fair contest, he had told me after she was knocked out cold and sent packing. I would have just knocked her out. She called you a demon when it's pretty clear that you're not, I shot back. And since you already beaten both Hatake and Uchiha, I wanted to beat her ass for a while, since both her and her mother are still calling for your head. She was a liability when we were under Hatake, Naruto had replied. She's still one now. The Banshee will not let this go. Just like her mother. True, I replied. I must prepare. He will arrive in 3 days. In 3 days, I will shatter his sense of superiority once and for all. Snafu's notes. For the Hinata vs Hiashi fight I looked to Ip Man, the Donnie Yen flick, for inspiration. This is going to be very painful for Hiashi. Wave Town, Wave Country. Watching from the sidelines, Naruto Namikaze had a slightly worried expression on his face. Fortunately, his hat had concealed the worry he had on his face as Hinata faced down Hiashi. Naruto knew that this was a long time coming. Even he knew about the emotional abuse Hiashi had put Hinata through, which had ultimately led to this final encounter between father and daughter. He wasn't worried for Hinata. He was worried about the state Hinata was going to leave Hiashi. But that was just a fleeting moment as he looked on in anticipation of the inevitable match between the former heiress and her father. He had given some advice to Hinata before they made their appearance. Advice that was brief and straight to the point. Advice that even Hinata liked very much. Crush him. The people of Wave Town had given the two combatants a wide berth as the battle was going to take place inside the town square, Naruto promising that he would personally pay for the damages that would soon follow from this battle. Hiashi was escorted by Hanabi Hyuga and 3 members of the main branch, while the Emperor and his elite guards backed Hinata. The Hyuga patriarch looked regal, yet intimating in his traditional robes, while Hinata was clad in her usual ninja jumpsuit. Having discarded her hoodie when she first arrived in the West, she had on something more practical, a black Jounin-style flak vest, similar to what Naruto would sometimes wear. Her hair was tied into a single braid. Simply put, Hinata was ready to kick some major ass. So you finally come, Hinata drawled. Only when your so-called honor is compromised do you actually take action instead of sending your underlings to do your dirty work. This has gone on long enough, Hinata, Hiashi snapped. You have tarnished the family name for the last time. Be warned, if you continue down this road, then you will not live to see the end of this day. But if you forsake the Emperor and return to the clan willingly, then I will spare your life. I think I will take the other option and beat you down, Hinata replied. You have called me weak because I was not the perfect little heiress that you wanted. Mother would be ashamed as to what you have become. Now Hiashi was incensed. Don't you dare dishonor her memory. You, who have betrayed your clan. Just to be a whore to that upstart of an emperor. We'll see if you can still warm his bed when I am through with you. The elite guards, Konin especially, were ready to take the arrogant Hyuga apart for that insult to the emperor's fiancé. But Naruto ordered them to keep their cool. This is Hinata's fight, he whispered. She must face her own demons and conquer them. Meanwhile, Hinata looked unfazed. I only wanted your recognition. You forsook your own daughter for your own political standing. When you branded me with the caged bird seal, that was the last straw. I have beaten Neji and Hanabi. She pointed to her father. You're the last link to my past, Hiashi Hyuga. It ends here. Pure Resident Evil Biohazard 5, sad but true for the duration of the fight. Hiashi activated his Bikogan and went into his Jayuken stance, while Hinata's eyes changed from lavender to violet as she activated her enhanced Bikogan, sans the bulging veins. She shifted into her Kinshiki stance, think Lily stance, and waited for Hiashi to make the first move. Hiashi pulled out several kunai and flung them at Hinata, who calmly weaved and spun through the deadly bladed instruments, while at the same time, closing the distance between his firstborn. Chakra seeping into his hands, Hiashi let loose with several rapid Jayuken strikes aimed at Hinata's chest. However, Hinata wasn't going to let him nail her with those lethal strikes. She has proven to Hanabi and Neji that the Kinshiki was a lethal style when it needs be. Now, it was time for Hiashi to feel its wrath. Hinata calmly dodged the first several Jayuken strikes before parrying the rest with her forearms. She then scored the first hit, a open palm strike to his jaw, having breached through his defenses. As Hiashi staggered backwards, Hinata went back into her stance. While Hiashi was busy sitting on his ass for the past couple of years, Hinata had been training long and hard, with Katami and Naruto helping her reach her full potential. The former heiress then moved in, kicking low, then high, forcing Hiashi to block both blows, wincing from the impact. Then she closed in the distance before Hiashi could recover. A straight punch to the face, followed by a blow to the chest. She moved around Hiashi's Gyuken strikes and grabbed a handful of his hair, violently yanking his head back and driving her elbow into his jaw, followed by a chop to the throat. She completed the combo with a Gyuken strike to his left arm. "You're outmatched, Hiashi," Hinata drawled as she went back into her stance. "Give up and I won't leave you a cripple." Hiashi took the moment to reopen his tenketsu. "You dare make demands of me? You are still weak. Yet, you were unable to get a hit off of me," Hinata pointed out. "Don't feel bad. Niji and Hanabi were the same." Another aspect of becoming the Fox Age was that Katami had drilled Hinata in the art of psychological warfare. Hinata knew how to press Hiashi's buttons, causing him to make several mistakes. But there was one mistake that even Hiashi could have avoided. Never underestimate your opponent, especially your own flesh and blood. Hinata stood her ground as Hiashi charged. One of Naruto's training methods was weight training, something he had picked up from Rock Lee. He had done the same and used the same methods to make Hinata faster. Combine that with occasional sparring with the Chiba clan head and Takuma, Hinata's skill level was up to par with her soon-to-be husband. The fact that Hiashi will soon find out the hard way. Hinshaiki was basically the gentle fist in its purest form, Hinata having stripped the flaws and weaknesses out of the style. What made Kinshaiki even more dangerous was that it did not use the Bikogan as a crutch. The same flaws and weaknesses that Hiashi was showing in the gentle fist as he and Hinata had gotten in close, blocking and parrying the other's strikes and blows. This time around, Hiashi had caught Hinata with several strikes of his own, disabling her right arm. Hinata knocked him back with a kick to the jaw. Hiashi smirked when he saw that Hinata's arm was useless. Then his eyes widened when he saw the tenketsu open itself up again, showing that Hinata could once again use her arm. Hinata flexed her hand as the feeling rushed back into her hand. "Surprised?" Hinata taunted. "You have nothing else to teach me, old man. I have far surpassed you. Just give up." As the match continued, Naruto noticed two more people that had arrived to watch the match. Both were Konoha jounin, the first was male, with a beard but no mustache, complete with an unlit cigarette, the female with undisciplined long hair and red eyes. Asuma and Kurenai Sarutobi. Naruto remembered that Kurenai was Hinata's sensei and that she was married to Asuma shortly after Maru had made genin. Asuma was watching him, while Kurenai was watching her former student with what appears to be pride on her face. Nudging Sana on his left and Yahiko on his right, he said, "Watch those two. Just in case they try anything." The two guards nodded as the fight continued. Kurenai cared deeply for her team. So when Hinata had defected from Konoha, she was no fool. She knew the reasons why. The Emperor has given her an opportunity to become strong without her clan holding her back. She always told Hinata, Kiba and Shino to do what was right, and this fell under that category, clan be damned. The Genjutsu mistress watched with a sense of pride as Hinata not only stood up to her father, but was also winning. She wasn't using the Gyuken style either. Well, it looked like the family style of the Hyuga, only that it was more purified. Kurenai nudged Asuma. "Looks like the rumors were true about him being here," she said, flicking her head towards the Emperor, dressed in all black, complete with the Kage-style hat, flanked by his elite guards. Asuma nodded. "Still can't believe he was just a kid when he united the West. Looks like he was smitten with your student, probably the main reason why he took her." "Oh, if they only knew. Looks like your former student is holding her own against Hiashi," Asuma noted. Kurenai nodded. It made her sad to see that her former student was branded a missing ninja, but from what she had heard of the enigmatic Emperor of the West, she knew that he would protect her from all threats. Hinata ducked, then leaned backwards to avoid Hiashi's attacks. Hiashi attempted a palm heel strike, only to have Hinata counter by calmly flipping him to the ground. Hinata raised one leg up in a vertical split before bringing the heel down on Hiashi, who rolled out of the way. Hiashi had been training hard for this day, this Hinata had realized. After Naruto had defeated both Niji and himself, Hiashi had gotten back into training. But Hinata too had been training, refining the Kinshaiki into a formidable yet deadly style. Hiashi got a quick uppercut to his jaw, which stunned him long enough for Hinata to perform the heavenly spin, knocking Hiashi into the air. Hinata quickly summoned a shadow clone, which sent the Hyuga clan head crashing back into the ground, following a hard kick to his torso. As Hiashi bounced from the impact of landing hard on the pavement, the shadow clone vanished. Hiashi got up, albeit a bit shakily as Hinata calmly stood there in her stance, determination in her eyes. The Emperor was calmly watching from the sidelines, pleased at how the battle was playing out. Kurenai and Asuma could make out that he was smiling, as Hinata had taken a page out of his playbook. Hinata had interlaced her hand with Hiashi's and had twisted it to the point where the pain forced Hiashi down on one knee. That left Hiashi open, allowing Hinata to strike him in the face repeatedly with a closed fist, the same way that Naruto had done to both Kakashi and Kiba, before flipping him to the ground. Hinata calmly advanced on her father, whose eye was swollen shut from the barrage of punches, meaning that because of that, he could not use his Bikogen in that eye. Hiashi coughed up blood as he got back to his feet. Hinata parried his Gyuukin strike and smashed her palms against his ears, causing them to ring. His left arm was dislocated, the elbow broken following another attempt to attack. A punch to the stomach made the Hyuga clan head vomit his breakfast. As Hinata continued to ruthlessly dismantle the clan head, Asuma and Kurenai continued to watch from the sidelines. "This is wrong," Asuma said. "Why won't she just knock him out and get it over with?" "Because Hiashi had made Hinata's life a living hell," Kurenai replied. "So Hinata is due for some payback. Not that I blame her. Hiashi is a prick and the main branch members need to get knocked down a peg or three." "So true, love," Asuma conceded. As Hiashi staggered to his feet, Hinata decided to end this battle once and for all. And she knew just how to do it. Now only it will serve as a message to the Hyuga, but it will leave quite an impression on her ex-father. Ducking under her father's attack, she nailed him with a palm heel strike. Unlike the Gyuukin's version, Hinata struck Hiashi 3 times. The first was with her right palm, the second was with her left, and a rising open palm strike that knocked him back. Hinata was not finished. One punch to the face, followed by a hard kick to the ribs, cracking the bone, which was then followed by a kick to the shins and a chop to the throat that stunned the Hyuga clan head, allowing Hinata to nail the clan head with a power jump kick, flipping off Hiashi's body and landing gracefully, while Hiashi landed on a heap. Hiashi quickly got back up. And fell to one knee soon after, coughing up more blood. Hiashi gasped. "You can't be this strong. You're a weakling." "It's over, Hiashi. I've won," Hinata countered. "Your Gyuukin was no match for my Kinshiki." Hiashi's eyes went wide at that declaration. You learned the forbidden style. How there are no scrolls for it. They were destroyed." "Not really," Hinata replied. "The gentle fist was flawed. I merely perfected it." "It doesn't matter," Hiashi spat out. "You're still a weakling. You're nothing." Hinata smiled evilly as she activated her Bikogen. "And you're within my range." Her hands coated with chakra, she savored the look of disbelief on Hiashi's face as she uttered the following. 8 trigrams. 128 palms. Before Hiashi could react, Hinata unleashed hell. Summoning another clone, they both attacked at the same time. Watching from the sidelines, Asuma and Kurenai had seen the 128 palms in action, but Hinata had taken it to a whole new level with the use of a shadow clone. Hinata and the clone had struck Hiashi 64 times each. And boy, did it look painful. 1 becomes 2. Hinata. 2 becomes 4. Hinata's clone. 8. Hinata. 16. Hinata's clone. 32. Hinata. 64. Hinata's clone. 128 palms. Both Hinata's chorused as they struck the final blow together. Crunch. The last blow was aimed at Hiashi's leg. The Hyuga clan head screamed as he felt his leg break. Collapsing to the ground, he was immediately surrounded by Hanabi and the other Hyuga ninja. Hiashi coughed up blood as he tried to keep consciousness, his eyes showing nothing but hatred at his former daughter. "How do you like your daughter now that she has no leash?" Hinata taunted as she dismissed her clone. "Any Hyuga that comes after me, I will do worse to them than what I did to you. I wash my hands clean of you, Hiashi Hyuga. You're no father of mine." You. That was all Hiashi managed to say before he passed out from his injuries. Father Hanabi whispered softly. Then she turned to Hinata, her own Bikogen active, as were the other main branch ninja present. "Get her." Before the main branch ninja could move in, Naruto intervened. The Hyuga ninja backed up as they saw Naruto at Hinata's side, katana drawn. He was backed up by his elite guards, who were ready for action. The Emperor drew a line in the street with his blade before turning his eyes on Hanabi. "Hinata is under my protection as if she needs it, from what I have seen," Naruto deadpanned. "Take your father and go." "You can have that." Hanabi was cut off when Naruto was at her side, the katana at her throat. "Finish that sentence, and you will be a head shorter," Naruto threatened, the blade digging in just deep enough to draw a trickle of blood. Hanabi knew that she was outnumbered. Given the Emperor's track record against Konoha ninja, Hanabi was not interested in becoming another number to his tally. Wisely, she backed down, while staring daggers at Hinata. "This isn't over, Hinata," Hanabi seethed. "Oh, but it is," Hinata replied as Naruto sheathed his katana. She took to his side. "Take him and go." Wisely, the Hyuga envoy made their retreat. Naruto and Hinata returned to the Inn of the Waves via Shunshin. Meanwhile, Asuma and Kurenai both had shocked looks on their faces. Honey, did we just see what I think we just saw?" Asuma asked, flabbergasted. "Did Hinata just cripple Hiashi?" The red-eyed Genjutsu mistress slowly nodded. It looks that way. Despite Hinata being a missing ninja, she could not have been more proud of her former student. Konoha the following day. The news spread like wildfire throughout the village. Hinata Hyuga, the former heiress of the Hyuga clan and an A-ranked missing ninja, had not only beaten Hanabi and Niji Hyuga, but had also crippled the Hyuga clan head himself, Hiashi Hyuga. Ino had found out when both Asuma and his wife had returned from Wave. Upon overhearing Hanabi and one of the Hyuga branch members who was working as a medic in the hospital, that had all but confirmed it. Hiashi Hyuga had been beaten by his wayward daughter. Even more worse, Hiashi would never become an active ninja again, as there were too much damage in his leg when Hinata had shattered it. He would walk, but with a cane. His arm would heal, thankfully. What surprised everyone was that it was Hinata that had done it. The same Hinata Hyuga that was now a class criminal with a kill on side order on her head, had crippled the arrogant and pompous clan head. The main branch members were in a complete uproar and called for a blood feud with both the Emperor of the West and the Emperor's whore. The cadet branch, on the other hand, were silently overjoyed at the fact that the arrogant Hiashi had been knocked down several pegs, first by the Emperor himself, then by Hinata. Even Tenten had seen Niji smile briefly when he was told the news about Hiashi's utter defeat. Several main branch members even went as far as attacking Meiki Asahina and her fellow Pakara merchants while she was at her merchant stand, solely because of her loyalty to her emperor. After Meiki had sliced down 3 main branch members with her katana and left them to bleed out in the streets, did the Hyuga backed off. Meiki would have been charged with murder had it not been for Kurenai Tsurutobi, Shikaku Nara, Inachi Yamanaka and Chauza Akamichi, who were present during the fight. Thanks to their testimony, Meiki wasn't charged with the 3 killings, as they were self-defense. Hanabi simply responded by ordering an increase on Hinata's bounty, the price doubling from 20 to 40 million ryo, with the orders dead or alive. Hyuga compound, 3 weeks later. The compound was on edge. What will become known as the second Hyuga incident had just transpired in Konoha. A squad of S-class missing ninja had infiltrated the Hyuga compound in the dead of night. Their target? The heir apparent of the Hyuga, Hanabi Hyuga. However, a branch clan member had sounded the alarm. The squad of S-class missing nin were all routed and eliminated. They had no hit I-8s which identified them which village they came from, but one of them had a vital item which explained why they were there in the first place. The bounty contract. The bounty in question was on Hanabi's head. The bounty was worth 120 million ryo, 3 times the bounty that was on Hinata's head. The next day, a courier ninja had arrived with a scroll for Hiashi. The scroll contained a note from the Emperor himself, as well as a copy of Hanabi's bounty contract. By now, all of the ninja villages in the east will have copies of this bounty contract. Call off Hinata's bounty and I will do the same with Hanabi. Speak with Captain Asahina of the Pakara merchant house. Otherwise, I would watch the ninja in your village very carefully, Hyuga. Oh, and if you break your word, I will destroy the Hyuga main branch clan. Konoha, office of the Hokage. Tsunade wasn't surprised when she saw Hiashi enter her office, leaning on a walking cane. She had heard about the attack inside his compound, as well as the bounty contract on Hanabi's head. Hiashi slammed the documents on her desk. My family was attacked last night. They tried to kidnap my daughter. I demand justice. The slug sage leaned back in her seat. Funny. I seem to recall having the same conversation with you when you decided to brand Hinata with the caged bird seal. You said that since it was a clan matter, that I have no influence in Hyuga business. This business you have with the Emperor taking Hinata is a clan matter, as is this bounty. I have no influence in this mess, which is of your own making. If I were you, I would seek peace with the Emperor. Hiashi growled. He knew that Tsunade was right. He enjoyed rubbing it in her face when she tried to stop Hinata from being branded with the caged bird seal, and now, she did it to him. Now, all of Konoha had found out about the bounty on Hanabi's head. Remembering what the Pakara merchant had said about the Emperor being the most wealthiest of the clans in the West, he had a sinking realization that the bounty on Hanabi's head was just a hint of what he could muster. More money than the noble clans of Konoha combined. He excused himself and headed for the Konoha market. Hinata's diary. Entry 11. Empress consort Hinata Namikaze. That has a nice ring to it. Right now, Naruto and I are at the summer palace in South Ichiyama. Katami and A are running the empire as proxies, while Naruto and I are away for our 3-week honeymoon. As a girl, I always dreamed of being married to Naruto. Now, it's a reality. After Naruto had lifted the bounty contract off of Hanabi, things began to go even more hectic as the wedding date inched closer. Naruto and I agreed that we should not go for such a huge wedding ceremony, as it would draw unwanted attention. So we decided on a private quiet ceremony at the Dragon Temple in the imperial capital, inviting only the powerful and influential clan heads for the ceremony. The Sand siblings, Team Misfits, Yuki Fujikaze, Mei Terumi and the Jinchuriki, were also in attendance. Tazuma, Tsunami and Inari were also in attendance. The marriage ceremony was just perfect. Even A and B were in tears. We said our vows, exchanged rings and sipped a small cup of ceremonial sake, and the priest declared us husband and wife. The temple erupted in cheers as not only was I declared Naruto's wife, but I was also declared the Empress consort, the most powerful woman in the empire. The people in the Western Empire celebrated in the streets. The Uzumaki Namikaze dynasty was secured. After the wedding reception inside the Imperial Complex, Naruto and I took a ship to South Ichiyama to spend our honeymoon at the Summer Palace. 3 weeks. A lot can happen in 3 weeks. Summer Palace, South Ichiyama. Nighttime has fallen over the largest city in the southern region. Naruto Namikaze sat on the edge of the bed, absently running his thumb over his wedding band. They had picked up their wedding rings while visiting Yuki in Spring Country. Hinata had chosen a wedding ring with a row of 6 diamonds embedded in the wedding band. Outside, the celebrations had died down, as it was almost midnight. A lot has happened in the past 6 months which had led to this night. He had led men through battle and built an empire from the ground up. But this night had pretty much petrified him. In the back of his mind, he almost wished that he was back in a war. Get a hold of yourself, Namikaze. Naruto steeled himself. You've seen Hinata naked before. She's seen you naked before. I'm not scared of intimacy. It's only your wedding night. Aw, crap, I'm petrified. Ahem. Naruto's mental rant was cut off when Hinata made her presence known. Naruto looked up and his jaw had literally dropped to the ground. It was his wife, standing in the doorway. Wearing a white slinky negligee that did little to conceal her voluptuous frame. And from Naruto's reaction, Hinata knew that she had struck gold. Hinata grinned. Seeing her husband, the indomitable Emperor of the West, a quivering wreck was priceless. Then again, so was she, and she was the one half naked. She just did a much better job of hiding her emotions. Damn it. Get a hold of yourself, soldier. Fight. Naruto's mind screamed. Naruto finally shook himself out of his stupor and rose from the bed, just as Hinata walked over to him, that same grin still plastered on her face. I see you like my little outfit, Hinata purred, thankful that Konan had decided to tag along when she decided to go shopping. It was the brunette's idea to pick up the negligee. Her hands began to unbutton Naruto's shirt. Don't worry. I'm nervous too, she whispered. That makes me feel a lot better, Naruto replied. One hand scratched the back of his head nervously. This is my first time, Hinata. Mine too, Hinata replied softly. Nothing else was said as the Emperor and the Empress consort showed their love for each other that left little to the imagination. At the same time, in Hotwater Country. A super pervert of a toad sage was in the middle of a pleasant diversion. Peeping in on the women bathing in a hot spring. He had heard reports of the Akatsuki in the area and decided to investigate. When he found nothing, he decided on the aforementioned detour. As the girls splashed each other, Jiraiya watched as he let out a perverted little giggle as he scribbled down ideas for his next novel. Then his head snapped westward as he felt something. Something familiar. What's this? My super perv senses are tingling, he thought. Someone is getting some hot nookie. If he only knew that said person in question was his estranged godson. Sadly, that one distraction had cost him, as one of the bathing women had caught sight of the old man. Jiraiya found himself buried under a pile of wooden buckets. Later, at the Summer Palace. Clothes were strewn across the room, mostly Naruto's, while Hinata's lingerie laid in a heap at the foot of the bed. The Emperor and Empress consort were in bed together, a single bedsheet covering their bodies for some sort of modesty. The Emperor was on his back, while his wife was snuggled up against his body. One arm was wrapped protectively around her waist, holding her close. Naruto looked at the angry red mark on her right shoulder. A bite mark. He knew that Hinata was gently rubbing her fingers over the same mark, only it was on his left shoulder. Let me guess, Katami? He asked. Hinata nodded. Yeah. She said to do this, to mark your mate as you reach climax. I never expected you to do this to me as well. Any reason why she wanted us to do this? He asked. To show the world that you are mine and I am yours, Hinata replied. So no regrets? None. You? None, she replied, smiling brilliantly. I'm glad to be here with you, Naruto. I'm glad you're here with me, Hinata, he replied, kissing her on the forehead. After a moment, the kissing and petting increased until Hinata was on top of Naruto. Another round. She breathed. Naruto grinned. This is going to be a very interesting 3 weeks. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.